Councilors, back to your seat. If everyone would be seated, please, so we can get started with the meeting. Everyone, please take their seats. Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to the January 29th City Council meeting. Please rise and salute the flag.
Roll call of the members. Councilor Argenzio.
Here.
Here. Councilor Giudino.
Here.
Here. Councilor Guarino-Sawaya.
Here.
Here. Councilor Haas.
Here.
Here. Councilor Jaramillo.
Here.
Here. Councilor Kelly.
Here.
Here. Councilor McKenna.
Here.
Here. Councilor Novoselsky.
Here.
Here. Councilor Silvestri.
Here.
Here. Councilor Zambudo.
Here.
Yes, and Council President Cogliandro.
Here.
Here. Quorum is present. Approval of the journal of the regular meeting of January 8th.
So move. Point of personal privilege.
One moment, Councilor. All in favor, all opposed? So ordered. State your point, Councilor.
I would just like to take a moment to acknowledge the passing of a well-known longtime Revere resident, Frank Scatino. Frank served as a trustee of the Revere Public Library since the early 1990s, serving as chairman for over a decade. He was an amazing athlete who was also inducted into the Northeastern Hall of Fame. He was also heavily involved with the St. Anthony's Holy Name Society, where he was awarded the Holy Name Spirit Award and a Lifetime Achievement Award. And I would just like to say that the city is thinking of his wife of 64 years, Millie, his son, Frank, and their extended family, and he will be missed. And if we could have a moment of silence, please.
Madam Clerk, at this time, one moment, please. I'm going to ask for a suspension of rules. I'd like to take up the Committee of the Whole. Sorry, my mic turned off. Suspension of rules. All in favor, all opposed? Suspension of rules.
Committee of the Whole report.
So what we're going to do, guys, is I know some of the councilors have additional statements they would like to make. We're going to let the councilors speak. Can I get an idea really quick of, if you could just to raise a hands, how many people want to speak? Okay. All right, good. So, guys, I am going to put everybody on the clock tonight for 2 minutes, and I appreciate you. If you guys want to kind of make your way into the center so we can have a line here. And I'm going to open the floor up to any city councilors. Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. My main concern has always been to ensure the taxpayers would not be consumed by the tax burden of this new school project. If you remember, the council unanimously voted yes on July 24th, 2023, to put Revere High School at Wonderland. It wasn't until the numbers that were rushed by the Arrigo administration were presented to us, and the lack of information provided, I felt this blindsided the former council. The cost of the building jumped from $380 million to $500 million in a week. The eminent domain lawsuit and taking revenue off the table for the city changed my vote to a no for all these reasons. I felt it was too much money for the residents and the city to endure, and I felt it would have led to hardship for Revere. Going forward, I would like to thank Mayor Keefe and his staff for being more transparent. The information that we have received was crucial in making the right decision tonight. What I have recently learned is that there would be a lack of parking on the Revere High School site, busing and teachers, no student parking, and this would be a disruption and would cause havoc to our residents and our surrounding neighborhoods. The culvert information that we just received that would cost the city $40 million to fix on this property, and the destruction of Ambrose Park that would be hot-topped for limited parking is a disaster. The new information on the new rates we just received in the both school sites would be close to the same building price. The assurance by the Keefe administration that the city could pay for these costs of the school and the property taxes would not go up to the residents was crucial information for me to learn. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Silvestri.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be brief. As everyone knows, I've been steadfast unapologetically. My stance has been Wonderland since day one. I believed it was better for everyone involved, the neighborhoods, the students, and if the crowd here tonight isn't a testament to that, then I don't know what is. So I want to thank you all for sticking in, and more importantly, I do, as Councilor Cogliando said, I want to thank the councilors. Although many saw it as a delay, it gave us an opportunity to lay 2 projects out instead of just 2 ideas. We got to lay 2 projects out. We got to see them side by side. We got to see costs. We got to see the pros and cons of both, and we got to an assumption, and that gave us time. And I commend them. It takes someone a lot of intestinal fortitude to come up here and change their mind, not once, but twice, because they gave us time and they realized that one project was better than the other. And I thank you for those of you that did that and took that time. It's brave of you to do it, and I commend you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Jaramillo.
Over the last year, I spent some time telling you a little bit about my story, knocking on your door and telling you about how this city raised me. And in this room, I see Ms. McKenna, which I still call Ms. McKenna, even though now we're colleagues, and Dr. Kelly, who were all educators of mine. And I see Coach Drew, who serves on the force here with us. And I bring this all up because at the committee as a whole, we had a conversation with Dr. Kelly about what this school meant for the youth of our city. And I can tell you that I would not be here today if it wasn't for the hardworking people in this city, the educators, the police officers, and the firefighters, and the people in this very council. And that is why I voted the way I voted, to ensure that we have a high school that brings dignity to our students and to our educators, to continue to churn out success stories for our city. And so thank you for your leniency, Mr. President. And
Thank you, Counselor. If there are no further, Counselor Zambuda.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know some people are looking at this as if it was everyone against Tony Zambuto. I don't take it that way. What I take is I was fighting for the taxpayer. Now, I think my facts are correct, but at this point, now that the school is going to Wonderland, I got to hope that I'm wrong. So I don't want to have to tell you I told you so, because the consequences are dire. So I'm hoping that something. Excuse me, I don't think I talked when you were talking.
Gentlemen,
Yeah, because you
Counselor, please continue your statements. I understand, but Counselor, let's have some order here, please. Thank you.
Anyways, I was always for a high school. Everybody knows that. We just had a difference of opinion on taking property off the tax rolls to build it. I still feel that way. I would still vote the same way, but I respect my colleagues. You looked at the facts as they were presented to you. And, you know, some people tried to discount my numbers. I think they were underestimated, but that's neither here nor there. The bottom line is we move forward from here and we do what's right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Kelly?
Just very briefly, I know I voted yes, but it's not sitting with me very well 100% because I really do feel that both of these sites are extremely flawed, and I really wish we could have done better with another site. I was asking that question continuously, and I was continuously told there were no other options. So I really wish we had another option. I'm concerned about safety regarding both sites. I didn't want to disrupt the neighborhood at the existing site. That was a key issue for me. But safety is still a big concern for me as well for the Wonderland site, as is the eminent domain pending lawsuit for that site as well, as is overall funding for this project. But I guess we'll get to that in June. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other counselors? Permission to speak from the chair? Just one final thought, everybody. I just want to be clear that tonight was about the site selection. It has nothing to do with the money. I have faith that the administration is going to do a good job in proving to the council that we can afford this school, because that is the utmost importance. We have to worry about our seniors on fixed incomes. We have to worry about single parents. We have a lot of people in the city that are struggling, holding on by a thread. And small businesses, we're taking big hits. And if it becomes more expensive for people to live here, then people stop spending money locally, they start shopping online, they start looking for cheaper alternatives, and we don't want to do that to the city. And that's why I continuously stress the affordability aspect of this project, because it has become very difficult for a lot of us. So, Mayor Keefe, we've got 5 months, please.
Council President Cogliandro, honorable body. First off, a lot of this is on myself and our administration, and of course, this is going to be on the backs of our entire every resident in the city. So I have just as much of a vested interest in protecting our residents and taxpayers as you do, and I feel that burden, and we will feel it every day from now until this product is finished. You have my word, and I'll tell you right now, I won't use these choice words on TV. But I have let Consigli, I've let Left Field, I've let the entire planning team know that if they come back to you in June or July with $1 more in front of you, $1, I will be happy to escort them out of the room. And I'll be supporting you with that. So they know that they are under tight constraints to make sure that there are no surprises, and recognizing that that was one of the big concerns in the past. And then on top of that, our entire finance team will be able to explain to everyone here how we're going to propose to pay for this school. But I do want to make sure it's clear, though no matter where we build a school, no matter how we build a school, it is going to be expensive for all of the residents of the city. To find $16 to $17 million in capacity on an annual basis during the height of the payments is not something that's easy to come by. So we will have to do things, and we will have to make sure that we have revenues coming in, and we will have to make sure that we have a balanced budget every year, and we're able to sock some money away. And I'm committed to doing that with the High School Stabilization Fund to have some rainy day savings help pay for this school, and to do the right thing. We're continuing to get good news to make sure that we are feeling very confident. So I will take on that responsibility with you all, and we will make a very good decision in June. But I do want to applaud you all, the 11 of you, all of you, even the ones that weren't always in support. I respect everyone's decision, and I want to say that your decision tonight and your choice tonight shows courage, and you will reflect on this. Some of you will reflect on this 10 years from now, and 20 years from now is probably one of the greatest decisions you made for the city of Revere. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we will move to the public comments. Just one at a time. When you come up, please state your name and address for the record, and try to keep it under 2 minutes, everybody. Thank you very much. Sir.
Hi, John Semino, a business agent out of Malden for Labor's Local 22. I'll be quick, just a couple of things. This local is 3,000 deep. It's predominantly construction. We've been around since 1923. For the labor's union, we are the biggest from Maine to Florida, skilled, trained, and qualified. So with saying that, and I do represent 150 so members in Revere. I got all of City Hall, the inspectors, 911, et cetera. If it makes anybody feel any better, Consigli was the right choice. Nothing against my other signatory contractors, Suffolk and so forth, but Consigli was the right choice. I've been in this business for 34 years, construction strictly. Like I said, the public sector here is my jewel in the crown. I've been doing it for 20 with them. So it's saying that with Consigli, they're building all of Boston. They are the biggest. They are in Somerville building laboratories, schools. They did the Chelsea Soldiers Home. I think that went out without a hitch. And like I said, they got all of Boston and all the way out to Springfield. So I think you should feel better with the project, wherever it was going to go, that it would have got done. But I do believe Wonderland being 32 acres of land, being wide open, you have a better chance with that site to get it done within, I don't know how many years they projected, but that's all I have to say. And one last thing, I have 300, out of the 3,000, I have 300 construction local union members who live in Revere. I am gonna man that job. I'm the business agent for that job. We got 3 other agents. I'm gonna make sure I personally take sole custody of that job through the Labor's Local 22. So with saying that, I have 300 residents, female, male, all different colors. And whatever you want, Mayor, if there's quotas, you just call me. I will support more residents from Revere to be on that job. Thank you.
That was 2 minutes on the dot. Nice job. Name and address for the record, sir.
My name is Anthony Cantino. I live at 240 Suffolk Avenue, Revere. I know that when you build a house for the amount of people that you have. I have no children. I mean, I just paid, no matter how many children somebody has, I just pay because I have none. But I'm from the old school. When the family gets bigger, you add to the house. You don't go and buy another house and put the kids over there and you live here. That's the way it goes. I see the city of Boston. I come from the West End. And in the West End, in a half-a-mile area, we have 5 schools. And we had the Welsh School. That was for all the dummies that didn't want to learn. There was no distraction inside the school. The nun used to come around. If you didn't do what you did, snap the hand on your, snap the sticker on your hand,
Dr. Kelly, if you're looking for teachers,
I went as far as the 8th grade, plenty of baseball fields and parks down, anyway, plenty of parks and so forth and so on. But, only 4% become athletes out of the whole group, all the fancy ball players, and the rest are watchers, Wow, gee, what a team, what a play, what a game. Yeah, you understand? That's the way it goes. You go to church, you pray, but when you come out, you face the world. All you people say, well, we won't be around for 50 years. Well, you're wrong. I'm going to be around.
best of luck topping that, ma'am.
Kathleen Heiser, 51 Endicott Avenue. So I'm going to be as succinct as I can possibly be. I want to thank you all for the decision that you made today. And I came up here for 2 reasons, 2 things I wanted to say. One is that, and then you know them, we have a diverse population. And 2, teachers work really hard. And as Councilor McKenna said, many of us come to work very early, leave very late, dedicate our time in the classroom to be one-on-one with the kids and not doing the work that's required of us to meet our own professional development. So therefore, when we go home, we haven't done the computer work that we had to do. We have to do it at home. And as a teacher, I would go home every night, probably the last one out of our building, which wasn't always so popular with the custodian, and I would be carrying 2 big bags of stuff to mark, to check over, and then I had to create my curriculum for the next day, which I did joyfully. And not only that, I want to say, because of our diverse population, they needed us to one-on-one. They needed to see the teacher speak to us. We needed to love them. We needed to be there for them. And if we had to bus ourselves, we'd have, how could we do it? How could you get there early? How could you get there late? How could you carry all your stuff? I think that a lot of teachers wouldn't want to do it because many of them come from a distance in the first place, and that's their choice. They might drive an hour, but then they have to wait for a bus. And I think that would be really bad. The other thing I want to say is that if I had to, oh, done. Okay, I'm sorry. You have 10 seconds. If I had to work for an unaccredited school, I wouldn't be very happy or proud to say that that's where I worked. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Name and address for the record,
Bill
sir.
Terrell, 215 Crescent Avenue. I'm here tonight not as a taxpayer, not as a parent, but as a construction professional. I've been in the industry for over 25 years, senior project manager. I'm kind of here for these guys here that have given you facts, data, the residents that are joining the existing site, and everything is real that they talk about. And I just had a couple things that I wanted to bring up that if you guys are going to vote tonight, you guys really got to think about, okay? I've been watching you guys for meetings for the last year, and I haven't been here. This is the first time I'm here. And what's gotten to me has been the impact on the community in and around that existing site. I've just finished up a brand-new building for Mass Bay Community College out in Framingham. We're dedicating it tomorrow. I've had the privilege of working at MIT, BC, a lot of educational, Harvard University, and the mitigation and the impacts are real. It's a real thing. Right now, I'm going to just try to put a couple points to you guys, and I want you guys to think big picture, take the blinders off. On the project I just finished up, we did 3,000 cubic yards of concrete on that building. It was a 4-story building, 2 wings. If you put it on top of each other, it's an 8-story building. That was over 300 concrete trucks and pours. A first floor, I have not seen any plans. I have not talked to anybody, seen anything. But, you know, a lot of the floor plans and everything, you could have a 300-yard pour for one floor. That's 30 trucks that would come in the morning, would start 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. I need to just finish this, please. That is 30 trucks that will probably go until about noontime, and then they have to set up, and it just doesn't end at 3 o'clock. They got to finish that, and you can't stop them unless you want to have that concrete crack and you're paying for a change order to do it all over again. They're going to be there until 10 o'clock at night, finishing that concrete, putting the construction joints in, the expansion joints, and they're going to be making noise. And those poor residents that are around that area are going to be impacted. They're going to be impacted with the steel deliveries, the crane, the steel decking gets thrown down, the noise, the backup alarms of the trucks. There is a big impact to these people, and that's not fair for some of these generations of citizens that have lived down there. And that's been eaten at me, and I just want you guys to know that the impacts that these gentlemen have talked about over the last year are real,
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank
Appreciate
you very much. Yeah.
Matthew Terrell, 215 Crescent Ave.
Mr. Terrell, I'm sorry to interrupt you. You spoke on the 8th. I just asked that you guys went to the back of the line just to make sure. Well, you know what? I'm going to let you speak now, but anybody else who spoke previously, if you could just go to the end of the line so that everybody has an opportunity. But go ahead and speak, Mr.
Sorry
Terrell.
about that, Counselor.
No, welcome.
I'm also acting as the chair of the RHS Student Senate. I'll try to be a bit more succinct. Not often does a community have the chance to dramatically alter the course of its children's success. even less often in a community where the majority of students belong to historically oppressed and marginalized groups. The city of Revere, in conjunction with the MSBA, was given this powerful opportunity to replace an aging and systematically inadequate high school. We have all sat through the exhaustive 3.5-year process, combing through 7 different sites and plenty of headaches. Tonight, humbly, I ask the council to vote in favor of Wonderland for many reasons. Because of the overwhelming pros Wonderland provides, because of the inadequate and disruptions that will plague the city at the existing site, and because of the over 900 students, teachers, and residents and parents who signed onto this petition in favor of Wonderland. But ultimately, because this high school will be a generation-dividing opportunity. For me and for many students that will not step foot in this high school as a student, we will still be able to see the ideas we've had since elementary school come to fruition. However, for the thousands of students in elementary and middle school, the decision of this school will be the reality for the remainder of their educational careers in Revere. For those students, I plead their biggest distraction in class is their friends and not the relentless, overbearing sound of construction. For those students, I plead that the district retains the amazing teachers that dedicate their life to educating the youth of the city, instead of losing them to districts where they won't have to be bused to work every day for 5 years. I hope you can take into consideration my words as a representative of the RHS student body and take weight to the voice of the students and give the many students who come after us a sense of hope and pride in this great city. Thank you, counselors.
Thank you. Name and address, please.
Hello, my name is Erta. I'm the Vice Chair of Student Senate. I reside at 62 Shawmut Street. Echoing the sentiments of Matthew, I just kind of want to bring us back into the context of this vote. We talked to some of you the past few days, even last night, I believe we called some of you. But we've been putting in this work and putting in this effort, taking many hours out of our days, out of our school days, to dedicate ourselves to the Wonderland site for multiple reasons, as Matthew said. But last year, especially because it was so devastating to hear no. We were told within our faces, we were sitting all the way back there just as we are now, no. And rather than being really discussed with or talked to about the topic, we were told, no, it's too costly. In that sense, we were prioritized finances over our social and emotional needs. We weren't understood in the context of overcrowding. We weren't understood in the context of infestation and flooding. We weren't understood in the context of state-of-the-art design and the need for a new building. We can talk about these numbers that we get out of pretty much nowhere, but the fact remains that these sites, especially Wonderland, is the best decision out of the two. And that is not only the position of the RHS Student Senate, but also the over 900 people that have signed on to our petition. We have residents, we have staff, we have directors from Revere Public Schools, we have people from across the city, through Facebook, through Instagram, through talking to one another, that have understood that Wonderland is the site for them, and that if you don't choose to move forward with Wonderland and move forward with that decision, then you are not only telling us that we don't matter, but that we are a problem. That we and our voices do not matter in any context. Because we did it last year, and if we do it again and it continues to fail, then what else can we do? Student voice matters, and it's about time that you take that into consideration. We shouldn't have to take out multiple days of our school years just to dedicate ourselves to something that city officials should be expected to do. We are told, being raised up, that you should contact your elected officials when something is wrong. And we did that last year, and we were told no, and we're doing it again. And so if you don't affirm Wonderland and move forward with affordable best practices at Wonderland, we will be severely disappointed, and you will discount the livelihoods of plenty of students, residents, staff in Revere. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. I just want to let everybody know that the RHS Senate will be coming up to the council once a month. We've been working that out. Their first time coming up on a communication will be February 12th. So I just want to let everybody know that, because I just want you to know that your voice does matter. We are hearing you. We are listening to you. Okay. And just for the record, guys, we just voted 10-1 on Wonderland. So I think it's pretty clear where it's going tonight. So, I've been giving everybody leeway. Let's try to stay under that 2 minutes. Thank you. Ma'am, sorry, name and address.
Doesn't everyone know me? Hi, Jan Dumas and Neelix, my service dog, 50 Walnut Avenue, Revere. I live at Hyman Towers. My building overlooks the Wonderland site from floors 6 through 11. Don't worry about us being overwhelmed by any work being done at the Wonderland site. Ward 2 has been the site of more developments than I can count on both fingers in one boot. In fact, Walnut Avenue currently has 5 buildings under development and one that's about to start. They were emptying out stuff in this one, and it's going to come up to the council sometime in June or July, I believe. That's going to be another 6-story building with 30 apartment units that are going to rent for $2,000 each, which means that rents in all of the city Revere Housing Authority buildings are also going to be going up because they are based on the average rents of apartment dwellings in the city of Revere. So thank you for thinking about the elderly who are in Revere housing, but please realize that the more apartments you put in the city, the higher our rents go too. I'm really looking forward to the Wonderland site. I don't have children of my own. That wasn't in the cards for me, but I am smart enough to know that we need to educate our children in the best way possible, not only because I want to have intelligent people to talk to when I'm still here 50 years from now, but because kids like that are going to be the next city council people and the next mayor of the city of Revere. I love the city of Revere, and I want to be proud of it when I turn 65 in next year. Actually, no, this year. Crap, I'm old. And I want to be proud of it I'm proud of it now. Done. God, I love Revere. All right, let's do this. Wonderland.
Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, yeah, everybody who this is your first city council meeting, 10 city council meetings, and you get to pet Neelix.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir, welcome. Name
Good
and
evening.
address.
My name is Martin Sanchez. I live on 103 Ward Street in Revere. Well, the decision has been made, and I'm very glad that happened going that way, because that was going to be my petition. It was going to be my petition just for the safety of the kids. The safety of the kids, I believe, was very important, and I'm very glad that you guys have become with that decision. Wonderland is decided to be for the new school. I'm also a representative of the Carpenters Union, and I represent hundreds of members that live in the city of Revere. So the choose consigliere for the site is spectacular. So you guys keep making the right decisions, because it's going to be more developers coming to the city, and we got to keep choosing a responsible contractor for these projects. That's my work, and I believe it's the work for all the hard-working men that live in the city of Revere. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. Name and address for the record, please.
Michael Biasella, 10 Robert Street, Revere. I will absolutely be under 2 minutes, I promise. Just in favor of the project at Wonderland. It's a $500 million job. It's a lot of work. I certainly could use some of it. Currently unemployed. That is all.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. Name and address, sir.
Ed DeVoe, 216 Crescent Ave. I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Been up here many times speaking on behalf of trying to get this done in Wonderland. Last year I was talking about making logical and financial decisions. Of course, it didn't go the way I would like to have seen, but as was pointed out earlier, I think in the end, it worked out even better. So I will say, kudos. You guys did a great job. I'm glad, and looking forward to the discussion on the funding, and I hope it goes as well, because all of this means nothing if there's no decision on funding the school. We're going to be right back, and even in a worse situation than we were last year. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Mario Perez, 95 Prospect Ave. I just want to vote in favor of the project, but because I like it 2 days ago, I was having a conversation with my little baby. I have a baby in Somerville that she played for the team. And then I say, oh, I think it's time to move you to Revere because we're going to get better schools and better programs and more sports. So I'm thinking to bring her to Revere. I say, we're going to get a nice school. And we live right there close next to the school, I say. So I think the next year I want to move her here. And I'm in favor of building the new high school so they can get better stuff for the kids so they can get smarter than us and representing the union, the Carpenters Union. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Come on up, brother. Name and address for the record, please.
Wilson Correa, 12 Sweeney Ave. I just want to say thank you. Thank you. Wilson Correa, Sweeney Ave. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I've been working with this, coaching kids. Now I feel better when I go coaching the girls for the spring season, knowing that there will be a field in the next couple of years. And also, by making this decision, is going to allow, I think the long-term goal is to allow a central middle school. I think now it doesn't look like a 50-50 if we either build a Wonderland or the other location. I'm glad that it's going to Wonderland, but it's going to open up the space where the current high school is for a central middle school. That's where the savings on your decision today will come in the future. So we're looking ahead. Today, I think, have a drink, have a glass, that you made the right decision for the city. And just trust, and let's go all together in the same direction. Trust that we will be fine. With Revere is in a great position. We have great leadership. I think we're moving the right way. I think we are. We are great leadership. We're making the right decisions. But just trust, and let's pull all in the right decision. And it will put Revere in a big in the map. And it's because of your decision. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, sir. Name and address, please.
My name is John Stamatopoulos. I live at 15 Sioux Street in Revere. I appreciate you really changed the whole temperature and approach of my comments tonight, but just wanted to comment. When in an urban district, there's a term called poverty insurance, and when you don't get the school right, we ensure that the future of these students in our community stays below the poverty line. And I was starting to get concerned that we were confusing activity with progress on this project, and tonight you've proven that we're going to advance it a bit. I just want to remind everybody, I know there was comments made around the eminent domain, and the definition of eminent domain is for government to take private property to convert it to public use with just payment and reason. And we would validate all of those concerns if we used Wonderland for anything but a school. So I just want you to know, I was very fearful of where tonight was going. On my own expense, I went to visit 3 groups last week, one that builds high schools, one that buys private schools in cities with unaccredited schools, and in Blackstone, which recently invested in Revere through buying the oil field of Link Logistics. And what they had said to me is, John, the only viable investments in a last mile city like Revere is low-income housing, warehouse space, and lab space. We've got the lab space at HYM. We've got the warehouse space at Trident Complex. If you don't put a school there, you're just going to get thousands of apartments. So I appreciate you all taking the efforts you've taken tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak? We are going to take a roll. Right. Ma'am, absolutely. Yep, sure. Name and address, ma'am.
Thank you. Maria Gennari, 26 High Street, also of 38 East Mountain Ave. I've been here before you representing my mom, who's elderly on East Mountain Ave. What I would like to do is thank the council for doing their homework, for reevaluating, and getting into the details. So for that, I am grateful to all of you. But I would like to say thank you to the students and to the community for making their voices heard. This is what we need. We need people here, and we need differences of opinion, and every voice counts. So I would like to thank everyone in the back of the room for doing what they did. Thank you.
All right. We are going to take the roll call, the final roll call. Madam Clerk?
Shall the City Council approve the School Building Committee and School Committee selection of Wonderland as the preferred schematic design inclusive of the presented budget, scope, and schedule? Councilor Argenzio?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Janino?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Guarino Sawaya?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Hass?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Jaramillo?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Kelly?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Silvestri?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Zambudo?
No.
No. Council President Cogliandro?
Yes.
Yes.
Madam Clerk? One moment, everybody. Reconsideration with the hope it does not prevail. On the consideration, all in
No.
favor, all opposed?
Aye. No.
Councilor Zambudo recorded as no. While we were under suspension of rules, I'd like to take up item number 24. Madam Clerk?
Number
I'm sorry, number 30. Yes.
Calendar item number 30, motion presented by Councilors Jaramillo and Hass that the City Council award a certificate of commendation to Carol A. Ty in recognition of her lifelong dedication to the City of Revere, its students, civic life, and public education throughout her career as a school teacher, union president, superintendent of public schools, and school committee woman. Ms. Ty has exhibited selfless and tireless devotion to the city's public education system and has built the foundation for educational and civic progress in the city.
Yeah. So I don't know if tonight's the presentation. We're
Today's
just
not-
voting on it, but Ms. Ty,
Mr. President?
if anyone, yes, I'm going to open it up to the councilors who filed the motion. Councilor Jaramillo.
Yeah, I just, we're going to do the presentation of the plaque for this at a later date, of course. And I'm sorry to have preempted this a little bit. I know that there's a group of folks who are neighbors of Ms. Ty, and some of them may want to say a few words here. But, you know, what better day to do this motion in particular for someone who's dedicated her entire life to empowering the young people in the city. You know, I just hope this motion passes.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Hass.
I'd also like to save most of my comments. I would just like to say you'd be hard-pressed to find a better representative of Revere and for what Revere stands for. And what a great night for Carol tonight. And then I'll save my comments for February 12th.
Yeah, I think, and then we can talk about naming the school. No, it's kidding.
Nobody heard that. Would anyone else like to speak? Councilor Novoselsky?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I have known Miss Ty, and I'll always know her as Miss Ty. I'm one of the few people in this room that actually had her as a teacher. And as a student teacher, that's how far back we go. So I'm proud of her. I always have been proud of her. She's been one of my idols, and I just love her, and congratulations.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Guarino-Sawaya.
Ms. Ty, you know how I feel about you. This is so very well deserved.
Thank you, Counselor. Anyone else?
I'll save
Counselor
my
Janino?
comments for the 12th.
Thank you. Permission to speak from the chair. Ms. Ty, I know we've had our differences this last year, but I want you to know that you are a hero in my home. If it was not for your words to my mother when she was a young girl who didn't believe she could be both an athlete and somebody who was intelligent, if it was not for you, I would not be here. Thank you. I know there's people here wishing to say a few words. Speak now, Mr. DeVoe.
Ed DeVoe, 216 Crescent Ave. Carol, you know, what somebody mentioned, and Ira said he's one of the few, I think, in that case, many people who have had Miss Ty as a teacher. I know my wife had her as a teacher and always talked about her before I even knew Carol Ty. Carol is just one of those great, unbelievable people that make you think. I always called Carol Switzerland because she always had that way of taking the middle in the sense to look at both sides and help you think about both sides until it came to the school issue. And then there was one side there. But decidedly and rightfully so. Carol, I can't think of a better person to get this award. It's been a pleasure working with you. I'm so glad we've got you on the Beachmont Improvement Committee. You make all of the work we do so much better. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We need to take a roll call on this motion. Or all in favor, all opposed? So ordered. I'd like to take items 21 and 22 up. Since we're on suspension, these are appointments of the CFO, and I'm going to ask that we vote on this tonight and not move it any further along. This is something we need to do now.
Calendar item number 21, communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of Rich Visquet as the city auditor/budget director.
Roll call.
Shall the city council confirm the appointment of Rich Visquet as the city auditor/budget director? Councilor Argenzio.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Janino.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Guarino-Sawaya.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Haas.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Jaramillo.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Kelly.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Silvestri.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Zambudo.
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Cogliandro.
Yes.
Yes, the appointment has been confirmed.
Right, there is a lot of people on that stairwell that, oh, okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, let's move along to number 22.
Calendar item number 22, communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of Rich Visquet as the Director of Finance.
Without objection, all in favor, all opposed?
Aye.
So ordered. Back to the regular order of business.
Public hearings. Calendar item number 3, hearing called as ordered on the application of Zorro LLC, 1040 through 1048 North Shore Road, Unit B2, Revere, Mass. requesting a special permit from the Revere City Council for the reconstruction, alteration, and extension of the pre-existing non-conforming residential use and structure for the purpose of constructing a 4-story, 11-unit residential apartment building at 1473 North Shore Road.
We're going to open this public hearing up with proponents. Any proponents on the project?
Good evening, City Council President and City Councilors. My name is Nancy O'Neill, and I am an attorney located at 14 Proctor Avenue. And I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant Zorro LLC, which is the owner of the 1473 North Shore Road property. We are here tonight to request 2 special permits for the reconstruction, alteration, and extension of the pre-existing non-conforming use and structure on the property so as to construct a transit-oriented residential building. First, we are requesting a special permit for the reconstruction, alteration, and extension of the non-conforming structure located on the property. The current structure is a dilapidated home which was constructed around 1900, or about 120 years ago. So what we are proposing is to reconstruct the dilapidated residential structure as an attractive modern building. The current dilapidated structure features extensive lot coverage and minimal setbacks, which is in line with the Shirley Avenue neighborhood as a whole. The proposed building will have a footprint that is substantially similar to the existing residence and appurtenant structures. And due to hardships involving the conditions of the property, variances were granted for the new or slightly increased dimensional nonconformities in November 2023. So overall, the proposed building is of similar footprint to the current nonconforming building, but just a little taller. So the proposed building is 43.5 feet tall and 4 stories high, both of which are below maximum dimensional criteria for this district. So what we are proposing is to raise the height of the structure, extend the footprint slightly, and as part of that, increase the density of the building. So the finished building will fit with the surrounding Shirley Avenue neighborhood in terms of height, lot coverage, and density, or general size and scale. And the proposed building would be a significant improvement in terms of aesthetics as well as building safety, as the building will be up to 2024 building code and safety standards rather than standards from the year 1900. So this building will significantly improve the property and the surrounding neighborhood, and importantly fit with the neighborhood. Which leads me to the second special permit, which Zorro LLC has applied for here. That is for the extension of the pre-existing non-conforming residential use. So the dilapidated structure that exists at the property is a pre-existing non-conforming single-family residential use in the Highway Business District. So what we are proposing is to extend the pre-existing non-conforming residential use to allow for 11 transit-oriented residential units at the property. So once again, these are transit-oriented units, which have seen significant success in this neighborhood, and they're also micro-units, a combination of 5 one-bedroom units and 6 studio units, which average around 500 square feet each. So these are small units, which are typically rented by single people who want to take the train. So transit-oriented living is the draw of this building. So the property is located 500 feet or a 2-minute walk from Revere Beach's MBTA station on the Blue Line. The residents of this building will walk 2 minutes up the street to utilize the train service, or walk 3 minutes up the street to go to the market, the doctor, the dentist, or one of the popular restaurants in this neighborhood. Residents will not have cars. This is a zero parking building designed in response to the walkability and vibrancy of this neighborhood. So the foot traffic from this building will sustain the economic growth in the Shirley Avenue neighborhood. And leases for this building would prohibit residents from having cars. Residents would not be eligible for parking stickers, and these enforcement mechanisms work. My client is successful in managing these types of buildings, and for these reasons, no parking or traffic impacts are expected. So overall, this type of building with no parking or traffic impacts is a net gain for this neighborhood and the city of Revere as a whole. And we are in a housing crisis. People, especially young people, need places to live. So this proposed building provides critical housing opportunities, but no additional cars. So in summary, the proposed building will beautify a neglected corner, provide an attractive modern building that will increase property values and have minimal impact on the surrounding neighborhood. And for these reasons, the project was well received by neighbors at a community meeting held for the project, and also enjoys the support of the city of Revere. So this building represents a net benefit to the neighborhood and the businesses that serve it with minimal impacts. And we are happy to answer questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any other proponents, people in favor? Closing that side of the hearing. Are there any opponents, people not in favor? Good evening, ma'am. Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, Jan Dumas, 50 Walnut Avenue. I live directly across the street from this building. It's going to be identical to the other buildings that have been built on this street or are in the stages of being built on this street. This developer is not a good neighbor, first off. So, and no one in the neighborhood is in favor of anything that he's built so far, despite what he tells you. We know that this property is dilapidated. We know that, and we know it has to be replaced by something. We'd really like to see it replaced by affordable housing, because as these buildings come in with high rent, that means that our affordable housing units go up, because our rentals are based on what's rented around us. Also, as I said, he's not a good neighbor. He's been using our street as parking for his business vehicles. He's damaging the properties around him. He's taking forever to do them. He's already built 6 buildings in this neighborhood, and he has done, there's been nothing to help improve our community at all. And I really want to see him, I really want to ask him to please provide some affordable housing in some of his units. This will be the 6th one. Ask him to make some of these units affordable. That's all I ask.
Thank you, ma'am. We are still in opponents. Anyone wishing to speak against? Closing that side of the hearing. Open it up to city councilors. Councilor Silvestri.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to just make a point of information, if I could. Ms. Dumas, I respect you wholeheartedly. I just want to clear up a little bit of misunderstanding. Housing units do not go off of the housing that is built around you. Housing units go off of the person in housing's income. It's a 30% income. It has nothing to do with the surrounding area's rental costs. Second of all, I actually know the developer personally, and this may not be a popular stance, but when you say he's not a good neighbor, I have to disagree. The developer shows up. He donates to every school, every athletic, hockey, baseball, sporting events. If there's a school that's out for an ask, he's there to answer it. If there's a person that's out there for an ask, he's there for an answer of it. The affordability piece, probably the most affordable units in the city as this time. And I just wanted to clear the air on that, because I don't believe that anyone, because of their profession, should be downgraded or point a finger at because we don't agree with what they do. But the developer is a great neighbor and a great representative of the city of Revere. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Novoselsky.
Am I allowed to counterpoint that?
Ma'am, we are in the part of the meeting where the councilors speak. Let everybody finish, and I'll have you come back up one more time. Just know that I'm going to grant you leeway, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, this is in my ward, and just for a few clarifications, this owner has built 9 buildings on Shirley Ave, including numerous businesses, new businesses, and very nice businesses with good food, there's restaurants, stores, everything anybody needs. He's building, this will be 10. He's building the old Bagel Bin building, which is 11. And this one we're talking about tonight, which is on Kimball Ave, not on Walnut Ave, And so it's not directly across the street from Jan, as she mentioned. It's Old Pete's, next to Pete's Roast Beef on North Shore Road. So she could probably see it from her building, once it's built. But right now, this developer, and he has been a good developer, and has made Shirley Ave the talk of Revere in a good way, not like it used to be many, many years ago. So I look forward to this. It's only 11 units. It's only 4 stories high in this case. And I just see everything good has been happening down in Shirley Ave because of Jamie Russo. So I am for this, and I will vote for it when it comes up after zoning. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Haas.
Thank you, Mr. President. It does sound like the project is in line with, the latest construction that has happened in the area. I just had one question, just for my own knowledge. Line 12, it says applicant has agreed to the condition in paragraph 19 hereof that the parcel shall be excluded from the city of Revere residential and visitor on-street permit parking program. I'm just curious if that's something that's built into a lease or a mortgage agreement, a lease agreement or mortgage?
So I believe what you're referring to is a condition of the variance, but residents of this building, they wouldn't be able to come to City Hall to get a parking sticker for their car that would allow them to park in a residents-only street. So that wouldn't be a problem. And then what my client does when he negotiates lease is he makes sure that residents do not have a car. So that's something that's asked, they monitor that, and if someone does in fact have a car, they would be breaking their lease, which they would deal with. So my client has multiple buildings in that area. He actually has excess parking in some of his buildings. So he manages his buildings very well. And that's why we are confident that this building would not affect parking or traffic in the neighborhood.
That's what I figured. Thank you.
If you look in the municipal code, you'll see a list of all the apartment buildings that don't allow resident stickers, so that this is going to fall under that, Counselor. Thank you. Counselor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to say that I have the utmost respect for you, Jan, but I disagree with you also. I feel that this developer has changed the whole concept of the landscape of Shirley Ave. This summer, I was driving down Shirley Ave, and I felt like I was in the North End. The windows were off the pizza place. People were sitting on stools. The windows were open. It's cleaner. I just think it's wonderful, and I think it's because of him he's changed the whole landscape. And it is the centralized. I think the city always wanted it to be the central part of Revere for people because it's so close to the beach for people to come in and enjoy different kinds of restaurants because the restaurants are so diverse. And I think that's what he's accomplished. So kudos to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other counselors wishing to speak? Counselor Argenzio.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to echo what Counselor Novoselsky and Counselor McKenna said. The Shirley Avenue area has been transformed. A few years back, if someone said, oh, you want to go out to dinner, let's go down Shirley Avenue, I don't think there'd be much response there. I've looked at those restaurants and gone to them. They're excellent. It really has transformed the neighborhood, and I'm in full support of this.
Thank you, Counselor. Ma'am, if you wanted to follow-up comment. Oh, my apologies, Counselor Kelly. Ma'am, come on up anyway. You're going to go next.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do agree that the development at Shirley Ave, a lot of it is really good, and I'm happy to see a lot of it. But I just have a question. This is going to be 11 units on approximately a 2,500 square foot lot, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And basically, the ZBA, the variances were allowed. This is in an HB district, so if this was not a non-conforming use or structure, the minimum lot requirement would be 15,000 square feet?
I'm sorry, this use is a non-conforming
It
use.
is, I know, but I'm just saying, if it wasn't, it would be a 15,000 square feet minimum requirement in an HB district?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And we're reducing the setback in that district. The variance that was received approximately was a setback of 100 feet would be required. This is 2 feet. It's going to be down to 2 feet of a setback, front yard setback.
I'm not positive about the 100-foot setback, but I believe one of the variances
So this will be a
granted was
2
for
feet front setback, right?
Yes, which complies with the pre-existing structure
Okay.
as well.
And the side yard setback is going from a 20-foot requirement in that district to 3.5 feet on the north side and down to 6 inches on the south side?
I believe that is correct, but I'll consult my numbers on
Okay.
that.
And the rear yard setback, which would be normally 30 feet, is going down to 12 inches?
Yes, I believe that is correct
Okay.
as well.
And we're increasing the floor area ratio from 1 to 3, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So I noticed there was a letter of support from Attorney D'Ambrosio that cited our purpose and intent of the City of Revere revised zoning ordinances. But I'd like to, he left out some of the other purposes of and intents of our revised zoning ordinances, and I'd just like to list a couple of them here. The purpose of our zoning ordinances is to lessen congestion, to prevent overcrowding, to avoid undue concentration of population, to facilitate open space, to encourage the most appropriate use of land, to conserve health, to secure safety from fire. All of these objectives are supposed to be fulfilled, and I don't think any of these objectives are fulfilled as a result of this development. I mean, I understand we need housing, but I also, and correct me if I'm wrong, does this fall into our new designated smart growth overlay district? No. It does not? I believe it does.
I believe it may. I can get more information.
I believe it
on
does. So under that smart growth overlay district, subject to the MBTA's communities law, the building is more than 8 units, so we would require 20% affordable housing, but because the applicant is moving for a special permit, he circumvents the affordable housing requirement. Would you agree with that?
I would say that the
Mr.
overlay
President,
district-
point of information. This,
State your point, Counsel.
this is obviously by rule going to zoning.
Okay,
And I think we'll do some of this discussion there.
that's
Thank you,
fine.
Councilor Zambudo.
That's fine.
Councilor Kelly, are you finished? You can feel free.
That's fine. Well, I wasn't, but I mean, I do want to talk about the MBTA communities law and how the request for the special permit, in my opinion, circumvents the requirement of affordable housing. But we can talk about it at zoning.
Okay,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Councilor. Ms. Dumas, just please keep it brief, the rebuttal, and then we're going to move this to zoning.
It's Dumas, not Dumas. It's
My
Katie.
apologies, Dumas. I
It's
won't
okay.
happen again. Thank you.
Don't worry about it, you're new. You'll get used to me. Okay, it is kind of what I'm trying to say is we're getting really, really cramped in Shirley Ave. There's way too much building. I'd like it to slow down. I'd like some of it to be affordable. And while your friend might donate a lot to the schools and a lot of the other organization, there is zero donation on the ground in Shirley Avenue. We have a lot of good organizations in Shirley Avenue. My own organization, the Revere Community Committee, sees nothing from him. And Costa Park is right across the street. We see nothing from him. We would like him to be a good neighbor to us, not a developer who just tears down old buildings where the wonderful neighbors in Shirley F have passed on and builds large houses where he's not a good neighbor and then walks away. That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you, ma'am. This is going to be referred to zoning on February 26th at 5 p.m.
Calendar item number 4, hearing called is ordered on the application of Parkway Homes Owner LLC, 300 Washington Street, Newton, Mass., requesting a planned unit development special permit and a special permit for the increase in floor area ratio of up to 3 within the TED district to enable the appellant to construct a mixed-use development consisting of 250 residential apartments and 1 commercial unit at 418 Revere Beach Parkway and 2, 12, and 16 Pratt Street, Revere, Mass.
We're going to start this public hearing by opening it up to proponents, people in favor. Sir, ma'am?
Good evening, Council. My name is Attorney Jerry D'Ambrosio. My office is located at 14 Proctor Avenue in Revere, Mass. Along with me is the petitioner, Parkway Homes, and the developers of this project. They're here to my rear. By way of interruption, I will say I'm going to use the teleprompter on this and provide a little bit of digital support if I don't mess it up, which I probably will. But along with me here is Oleg. Oleg is here. Oleg Soltrusky, one of the owners. Caleb Manchester, another one of the partners, is here, also sitting in the rear. The architect for the project is Cube 3. Is there architects here in the back as well? Rick Salvo, civil engineer, proud Revere resident as well, sitting here to our right. We have the landscape architect, Ian Ramey. Is Ian here? Oh, Ian's here to the left. We also have Bob Michaud, the traffic engineer on this project. Bob, are you here? Oh, he was here a little earlier. And then there's myself. The reason we have everyone here is just really out of respect for this the City Council and later subcommittee, so that if there are questions on particular issues, we'll be able to answer those. At this point, I'd move on. This project is going to be located at 418 Revere Beach Parkway, or Winthrop Avenue, as it's known. It is currently a TED district, okay? Currently a TED district. The reason that's important is that a TED district in the city of Revere is a commercial district. It's important, again, it's a commercial district. I think by looking at it up on the screen, you'll see that it's a bit of an isolated insular community tucked in the corner of Winthrop Avenue and Lee Burbank Highway. There's not other than the current mobile park that existed there, that comprised probably 95% of the residences in that area. But again, it's important to note that this park predated the current zoning. This park was created in 1946, I believe, so over 75 years ago. The current TED district allows a host of different uses. It allows for a factory use. It allows for a hospital use. It allows for an auto dealership use. It allows us for a church. It allows for a strip mall. It allows for a warehouse. It allows for residential development through a PUD, which is what is before you today. The reason I bring these alternate sites up is that when looking at what the standard is for this city council in granting permission for this development, you're being asked to consider one thing. Is the project that's being proposed more advantageous than what's there now or what could be there? So it's important to note, is this project better than what's there now? And is it better or more advantageous than what could be there now? So again, in your mind, from a legal perspective, you should be saying to yourself, we know what's there now, we're going to go through it. You should also be thinking about what could be there and what the traffic consequences are and what the congestion is for those. Because it's really easy to talk about traffic and congestion in the abstract. Unfortunately, that's not the job of the city council, right? You know what the standard is, and you know what can be built there. So it's your job to determine what is that real congestion? What is that real traffic, given what's there now or what could be there? So just an important point that I point out to everybody. Here's an aerial photo of Lee's Trailer Park, again, established in 1946. It's in pretty poor condition, 75, 76 years old. A lot of the structures that are currently situated there are decades old. They are in horrendous, deplorable condition. And they've been like this for decades. It's important to note that this trailer park did serve a very useful purpose. It truly did. Unfortunately, over the past decades, it has fallen into a state of disrepair to a point where many of these mobile homes didn't even have running water. They didn't have electricity. They had folks living in them that were literally squatting. And it caused just a really, really dangerous situation, I would add. The sanitary conditions were very poor back there. The safety conditions from a crime perspective were significantly lower than they were throughout the rest of the city. And it caused, I would say, a zapping of city resources for decades now. You'll see some of the fencing on some of these photographs. We had that fencing installed several months back because of all the illegal dumping that was happening, and to prevent squatters from coming back and living in these deplorable conditions. But what's interesting is, apart from the trailers, if you look at the infrastructure, the overgrown grass, and you look at the streets that make up this area, they haven't been renewed in decades. The infrastructure was awful, is awful. And I suggested to the city council that if you go under the ground as well, if you look at the electrical lines, if you look at the plumbing lines, if you look at the drainage system, it's just as bad because it is decades old. It's causing flooding to some of the residential houses that abut this, and it's also causing contamination to the Greens Creek, which is right behind this property. Unfortunately, it's not just a question of deplorable mobile homes, but some deplorable practices as well. This is one of the homes where, unfortunately, the occupant decided to hoard, I'd suggest, years and years of trash and material in the backyard. That's currently still there right now. Here's, again, some other shots of what the trailers look like. It's actually an interesting area of the city because it's located by that police station in a corner of the city. Many people don't actually drive by this. They don't enter it. Many people haven't entered it in years. But this is in our backyard. This is in Revere, right off of Winthrop Avenue. So while people don't necessarily see it because it's set back, it's still there. Some more photos. Here's an aerial depiction of some of the dilapidated trailers. As you can see, there's also dilapidated vehicles there, vehicles that have been sitting there, again, for decades, that don't even run anymore. They don't start. They're just sitting there. Again, I'm just flipping through. I had literally 100 of these pictures. I just took a handful just to illustrate the point. So what's happened? With urban decay, you have social decay, ladies and gentlemen. With urban decay, you have social decay. Unfortunately, this was a site that was the source of frequent criminal activity. These are just a couple of headlines that I pulled out. I can tell you for sure that this trailer park was one of the hottest 911 spots in the city of Revere. Police were responding here daily at one point, daily. I think a couple of years, well, actually in April of 2022, there was actually an incident that went viral. Revere caught the attention.
Counselor.
Yes.
I think we all get the point. Listen,
do we all get the point?
We all get the point. We understand what's there. We understand what's being put before us tonight.
Thank you.
I understand it is going to zoning, but I don't think we need to see any more.
Great. Well, then then I just skipped over the social media viral part. Not a good way to be known in the city of Revere. But I just fast-forwarded those photographs because I think this is a very useful chart, especially what happened in Winthrop over this weekend. We had a 2-year-old girl in Winthrop die because an ambulance couldn't get to her house overnight. This is the 911 statistics over the last 2 years for this site that we've owned it, okay? At the peak, there were between 35 and 40 911 calls for Revere Police. 35 to 40 every month. And you could see that over the past 2 years, as we've demolished trailers, the number's gone down. But again, this is just the Revere Police Department. There's only 2 ambulances on average that cover the city of Revere at night. There are ambulances here, if not every day, almost every other day. From the fire department, again, just some quick headlines. Just over recent history, 2015, 17, 18, 2020, 2023, numerous fires, and not little barn burners, large barn burners. This is what was happening frequently with trespassers on the site, burning down trailers, burning down vehicles. This was what was happening in this trailer park. Again, maybe out of sight was out of mind. And again, I appreciate Councilor Silvestri. I don't want to overdo it, but this is what was there. That's what's there now. And I want to drive that point home. This is the wreckage that was caused by a lot of that damage, wreckage that existed there that my clients have worked diligently to try to have removed over the past year, and that's currently undergoing right now. So, not to beat a dead horse at this point, the question is, so what are my clients proposing? And so that'll be the next slide. It's actually a video slide. So this is a video rendition of what they're proposing. A 6-story building, 250 units, no unit greater than 2 bedrooms, with 179 parking spots. This is the view from Winthrop Avenue. Beautiful, aesthetic building, environmentally friendly, environmentally competent, as it'll be a LEED certified building for energy purposes. The view you're getting right now is along Winthrop Ave. This will be the new Pratt Street area as you drive down that street. That is the same structure. It is a half horseshoe structure that wraps around. The current site is about 5 acres. We've subdivided it. This particular parcel will be a little over 2 acres, and it'll situate this one building with, again, 250 units. That's the view from Green Street. Again, just to slow it down real quick, this is a view from Winthrop Avenue again. There's a view from the new Pratt Street as you go down and into the back. I'd cite, and you'll see it a little bit later, to the left, as you go down Pratt Street, there's an open area, a public open area that'll situate public barbecues, a pool area, public amenities, and of the sort. To move it along, it's going to be 179 parking spaces. Most of them, 125, will be underground. There'll be approximately 54 to the rear, as you can see it. The unit count, as I've said, is 250 units. Important to note, 38 of those are studios, 106 are 1-bedrooms, and 106 are 2-bedrooms. The first floor will also situate a retail use. And I pointed out it'll be in this area, amenities and retail use. And the reason for that, we envision a variety store, a food store, so that folks that are here won't necessarily be driving outside of this development and flooding Beachmont Square with extra traffic to buy wine or food. This is a rendition of the apartments. We could talk about it more at subcommittee, but it's basically the 2nd floor through the 5th floor. The top floor, 6th floor, is going to be a little bit set back. It's a little thinner than the bottom 5 floors. This is a great macro landscaping plan of the proposal. So you're going to see Winthrop Ave, Revere Beach Parkway on the far right of this, and you're seeing the footprint of that building. You're seeing the pool area in between. You're seeing what will be a beautiful landscape lawn area in the back. You're also going to be seeing a beautiful walkway that walks along that Greens Creek that will be open to the public as well. It's important to note that for years, the city of Revere has not had access to Greens Creek in the back. And part of this proposal through easements is to give the city of Revere a permanent easement right to go back there and keep the creek clean and free of debris over the long run, so that even after we clean it, it'll be maintained that way as more of a park area for the public at large. Here's a micro amenities map. This gives you an idea of, again, that pool area. More importantly, it gives you a proper a depiction of what some of the little things will look like. The sitting areas, the trees, the fire pits, the public walkway along Winthrop Avenue. Look, it's going to be a beautiful footprint. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Moving on, this is an exemplar of what an interior unit is going to look like. You're talking about stainless steel kitchen features. You're talking about an open concept, plenty of lighting, large windows, a very modern look. And again, studios, 1 bedrooms, and 2 bedrooms. Some of the points, affordable housing. 10% of this project is going to be affordable. Important point. And I pick up on where my associate talked about both a Republican governor and a Democratic governor have said that housing is a key issue in this state. 10% of these units will be affordable. It's a transit-oriented development. Important to note that there will be plenty of parking. It's 179 on-site spots. It is in walking distance to the MBTA station. This is a transit-oriented development. It meets the statute, and because of that, there is a reduced voting requirement from this board, because it does meet the current state legislation that encourages this kind of development. Parking. We've provided a traffic study for you folks. I think it's important to note that if you look at the traffic that this project will cause compared to what the traffic that was being caused there, and to be quite frank, I think this is a very conservative analysis. You're looking at 15 additional trips during the weekday evening peak hour, 9 in, 6 out, and you're looking at 22 during the morning peak hour, okay? There is no material change in traffic operations. Again, it's easy to talk about these projects and suggest that they're going to create an immense amount of congestion. That just isn't the reality. And it's not the reality because the project that's there right now, that trailer park, at only 110 units, is causing as much traffic. So there's not going to be any kind of substantial change. And I might suggest to you that it's a little conservative in terms of what we're suspecting that trailer park caused in traffic, because over the course of the last 75 years, there were way more than 110 trailers. We based this analysis on 110 trailers there. There were significantly more than 110 trailers there, and population estimates reach as high as 750 people living there at different points over that time. So we expect that in reality, the traffic generated by this new project will actually be less than what it was at Lee's Trailer Park at its apex.
Jerry, how much longer do we have?
3-4 more slides. Almost done. Infrastructure upgrades. Once this project is done, you're going to have new sidewalks, the cleaning of Green Creek. You're talking about quite a bit of utility replacement underneath. Financial benefits to the city. You're going to triple the real estate tax, not to mention a host of the other fees that are coming with this. We were just talking about a new high school. Well, you've got to pay for that new high school, right? No matter where it's built, whether it's Wonderland or on the old site. This is going to afford at least $500,000 a year in new growth to help service some of that debt. On top of that, there's going to be a $500,000 financial donation made to the fire station in Beachmont to help convert that old fire station into a new arts and community center. Finally, the aesthetic benefits. I guess I won't harp too much on that, but this is the difference. This is what you're looking at in terms of what the difference between the two things are. I'm sure there'll be a lot more questions. I don't want to take too much time tonight. Look, I think this is
Too late.
And I apologize, but look, I think this is a great project for the city. It really is a win-win, and I really want to take the wind out of the sail of everybody who's going to stand up here and say, well, this project causes too much congestion, because it's just not true. Maybe there are other ones that will, but I can tell you as a matter of fact, this one will not. And there is, on top of that, an affordable housing component, with the goal being to help people in the city of Revere afford some of these rents. That being said, thanks so much.
Thank you, Mr. D'Ambrosio. We are still in the proponent section. If there's anyone else who wants to speak in favor of this project, seeing and hearing none. Oh, I can say something. Come on up.
Well, hi, so my name is Mark Bilenki. I am an
Address.
associate broker at Century Realty Group.
Sorry, sir. Address as well, for the record, please.
I actually live in Brookline. And,
your address for the record, please.
1834 Beacon Street, Brookline.
Thank you very much.
So we've been active in Revere and East Boston markets, and I actually used to live in Winthrop for quite some time prior. So I'm familiar with the area, and honestly, the overall presentation seems very impressive. I mean, I've been around this area forever, and I've done some work with Logan Airport in the past, and I'll tell you from a realtor's experience, it would definitely be something that our clients would be looking to move into. We work with Revere residents and everybody around in the area as well, and we've done tons of work for affordable housing people as well. So just wanted to say I will support the project.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. Okay, we're going to... Are you a proponent, sir?
Well, Ed DeVoe, 216 Crescent Ave. You know, there's always a question, and I support the project in concept, okay, but I do have a couple of concerns, and I guess, should I be addressing them as a proponent or an opponent?
That is a great question. It depends on what your questions are.
Okay.
Go
All right,
ahead.
so I'll state them. I just didn't know whether it should be during this point or not. Well, first and foremost, I guess when I hear the conversation about traffic, I think the statement, that it's going to be fewer than what was coming out of there. He keeps talking about in its heyday, which was back in the 40s, when there was much less traffic in the city. And therefore, yes, if you were telling me you're putting something up back then that was going to represent 22 more cars coming out of there than back in its day, then you'd say, okay, that's not too bad. But let's take that 100 and whatever he said was back in its heyday, add 22 more, and now you got 142 cars coming out of there in a point in time where there's far more traffic than the road can currently support. So there is a traffic concern. I'll make the point also that I understand from what I've read, and kudos to all who are involved in making it happen, and kudos to the developer for setting aside 10% for affordable housing. I just want to make the point that when you look at the surrounding communities, they're all either at 15 or trying to get to 15, but their standard kind of is trying to reach 15. The city of Revere hasn't done much with affordable housing in terms of the units that have been developed, and we're way behind. We need 20-25% in affordable housing to catch up to where we should be. So kudos for having 10%, but it really should be more. Are we going to hold the developers' feet to the fire to make that happen? That's up to you guys. But I really say that we should start somewhere if we can get more affordable housing. And frankly, the number earlier was thrown around as 12%. 12% is 5 more units. Is that going to really break their bank? I don't think so. Add 5 more units on it. Make it 12%. But going forward, as a city council and as a city, we need to start to look to seriously every one of these coming down the pipe of trying to really get more affordable housing in the city at a higher rate than what we're doing today. And I might add, we talked about earlier about the project on Shirley Ave. There are developers in the city that are doing smaller developments, but they're doing many many of them. And when you add those many, that brings in a lot of units. So therefore, and even though their rents are lower by many of the higher standards, we need to look at those multiple units, the aggregate of that, and saying that developer should also be making more fair housing available. So I just wanted to throw those points. Again, I'm in support of this. I think it's going to be, I love what I'm seeing. I love the fact that the trailer park is being taken care of, and I'll stop. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I'm going to put you down as a proponent. Okay, so we're going to close that side of the hearing. Are there any opponents? Did you want to respond to something, Council?
I just wanted to assuage the concern on the traffic data. That's a modern traffic report.
So this is going to go to zoning, so
Yeah.
we definitely have more.
But I just want to make sure that we're clear, that the data is for today's traffic. It wasn't for traffic from 46.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the clarification. So we're going to, opponents, please come one at a time to the mic. And ma'am, name and address for the record, please.
Darcy Sorrentino, 39 Tree Valley Road. Darcy Sorrentino, 39 Tree Valley Road, Revere. When I first saw in the newspaper about the amount of housing that was going to go there, I just thought of all the things that are going to be happening on the rest of the Suffolk Downs. Are there going to be housing there? How many? That's, structures are coming. Behind there, he said there was going to be another building. I think that, speaking of the high school and the amount of people that were, children that are going to be going to our schools, adding up how many units and how many children per child, how much does it cost now to put a child through our public school system? We're going to need more fire. We're going to need more sanitary to pay for all these things that are happening in a space that was relatively uninhabited for a while now. So I think it's a lot to put on the city outside of just the traffic in the school, in the school. I wasn't even going to speak of this, but because of the high school situation and overcrowding that we have of our schools already, and they say, well, they're, studios, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom. People don't care how many rooms they have, 4 or 5 kids in a room. It happens. There's not even enough parking spaces for the amount of units. Most people have 2 cars. Where does the overflow of the cars go? Where's the overflow of that traffic that's not in the study go? And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Valentina Moreno, 660 Ocean Avenue. Hello, City Council. I want to speak today about my lived experience being one staff who helped all the people in the former Parkley, yeah, thank you, as the former housing manager for the city a year ago. I was helping the public health department along with the city office. And I have to tell you, some of the slides that I just saw a few minutes ago, that hurt me, that saddened me, the way that they were making, the people, I don't know who that was, as if they were not humans. That's really offensive, and I can tell you there's plenty of families, there's plenty of people that are not dangerous. Of course, I'm not going to deny that there are some people or some danger that going on at the time. But there's people, and these people were there not because they wanted, They couldn't afford anything else. That was the last place that these residents had left. And of course, we saw like 20 slides of how they looked. Me too. I have many. And I have many pictures still of the documents that the property that was evicting them had on them to give them money. They were like telling them, okay, do you want 5,000? Oh, no, you don't want that? Okay, I'll give you 10,000 more. And I have those documents still on my phone. And they were doing this to the most vulnerable people in Revere, to people that, of course, like we've heard, maybe some are users, but also to some families that at that moment, when they don't have any food, of course, they're gonna accept some money if they don't have any. So that to me was, that was a really difficult situation, because no one, we weren't, staffed that much, and it was the end of a lot of people's lives in Revere that we were watching with just 5 people, along with Chris Alva, who's not with us today. And I'm speaking for him because we went together door to door. And anyways, I'm going back to my point, which was, yeah, we saw many slides that it looked bad. And of course, now we saw a video that's going to look really pretty. Wow, congrats, it's going to look pretty. Do we need a mall? No. But we still need affordable housing. And to go to the slide of affordable housing, which I want to thank that at least they had a slide and they're offering some affordable housing, 10% of those units at 80% AMI, area medium income. I have to say that's not what Revere really needs. Like the majority of people right now are around 60 or lower area medium income. So I just want to say thank you for looking at that slide of 80%, but guess what? We're in a housing crisis where we need even, our priority population right now, it's lower than that. And we need more than 10%. We really do. Doubled up is something that we see. Are we seeing more? Just one more thing. Doubled up is a term when there's too many people in an apartment or a house. And it's gonna get worse, and 2-bedroom is not gonna cut it. People, right now we have 10 people in 1 studio room. And more are going to come, so I'm just planting the seed in all of you that I want to speak more, of course, next time zoning. But just consider that we're in a crisis. And I have heard all types of housing emergencies during the pandemic. So millions of dollars I literally had to assist with people with federal money. It was millions of dollars that Revere residents needed during that emergency, and they still do. It's millions of dollars. And anyways, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening. Name and address for the record.
Laura Holmes, 243 Campbell Avenue. Good evening, everybody. I want to talk about the affordability issue, too, and I'm really grateful to those who were pushing for, and I know Councilor McKenna, I know you care about affordable housing, and getting 10%, well, it's a lot better than what we've done so far in Revere, but it's nowhere near what we need. Nowhere near. And just this developer is building 114 units over by Beachmont. How many of those are going to be affordable? They've got, I don't know how many units on 900 Ocean Ave. I bet you none of those are affordable. So this is all cumulative. Jamie Russo has done great things. One of the things that he's been responsible for, though, is in the displacement of lots of Shirley Ave neighborhood residents. So with all the progress, somebody's got to speak for the other side of this. And I'm always going to be here to do that, as will the Revere Housing Coalition. We just want fair housing. When we came to you a year ago last October, October 22, and along with Mayor Arrigo and a dignified body of advisory board members from the community, we proposed 12% affordable housing, that we have an ordinance, that this city council please help make sure that with this development comes a little inclusion for the people who have lived here all their lives, for the kids who go to school here but can't afford to live here when they start going to work themselves. This is real. You might like what you see because they're pretty buildings in Revere now, but the things that we like about the character of this community, the diversity, the families, we're not going to have that in Revere if we let this development continue to go out of control and not demand at least, and when you shot down the 12% inclusionary zoning proposal, I didn't think that was enough, to tell you the truth. Surrounding communities are all at 15 and over, and they're not losing development opportunities. They're getting them just as well, but they're also getting some amount of affordable housing. And it makes us feel like the city doesn't care about the working class people here. And I don't think that's true. So I think seeing this development come along, this is just the first stage. I'm sure they're going to be doing more, developing more housing on that site. I just hope the council will take up, if you don't like the term inclusionary zoning, please take up affordable housing this year, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Guys, we're getting close to 8 o'clock. I'm gonna make time, if you can keep it short. How many more people are left? Just 2? Guys, okay, so hold on one moment. This is going to a subcommittee. We have a full agenda after this, so please We've heard a lot of different points from opponents. Just please be to the point. I would greatly appreciate it. I'll give you all an opportunity to speak. Come on up.
Good evening, Lorena Scalero, Revere Housing Coalition member, 10 Overlook Ridge Drive, Malden. I'm here to express my strong opposition to the project. 10% is not enough. It's truly disheartening to see a site that provided 100% affordable housing be supplanted for luxury units and a merely 10% of them as affordable. Revere is no longer at the mercy of the market. Revere is a market. And so you have the power to prioritize the well-being and stability of its residents, irrespective of socioeconomic status. So I'm just here to express and urge you all to prioritize this housing crisis with the urgency that it deserves and support working class and low-income residents of Revere. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, councilors. My name is Karupaj. I reside at 70 John Mooney Road, Revere. So I'm here because I work with survivor domestic violence. And survivor domestic violence, most of whom are low to no income. And oftentimes, they reside in the Revere, in our community, and they're not just facing with evictions and not affordable housing available. They have to uproot their community, their support, and they have to move to other places. And affordable housing is one of the basic needs of human right, right? So I'm asking all the councilors to look at affordable housing. I would love to increase the affordable housing for the city of Revere, not only up to 15%, because I also work in Chelsea, and Chelsea has 15% affordable housing. Please, please listen to our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good evening, ma'am. Name and
I'll be
address.
very quick.
Thank you.
Kelly Resendez, Grover Street. I have a question for the 250 units. Is there a possibility of 250 more units?
So we can address that in the zoning. We're not in a kind of question format here. It's just stating your opposition for the project.
Okay. Well, then I oppose it because there's going to be a lot more traffic. There is not enough parking. There's 70 cars. If I did the math right, there's 70 cars below what Revere allows at 1.2 or 1.7, something like that. So they're way beyond, they don't have the parking. You called Cataldo Ambulance in front of you guys, not maybe all of you that are sitting here, but in front of the council. There is a huge response time. I know from a person that had to have her father rushed to the hospital that that is huge. We don't have the ambulance, we don't have the police. You're overbuilding the city. You all ran on not building. Stick to what you ran on. Let them stick to what they can by right put there. Put a hospital. Put something else. We don't need more apartments. And Revere, honestly, should be ashamed of themselves because we should be at affordable housing by now with all the apartments that have been put into Revere. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, ma'am. Last one, last but not least, name and address for the record.
Jennifer Gipsall, 48 Rice Spring Lane in Wayland. I represent 16 and 30 Pratt Place, almost abutters to the property. We would just say that obviously this property is an improvement over.
I'm sorry, are you an opponent?
Yes and no.
Interesting.
Obviously, there's a middle ground. Obviously, this is an improvement over the current leased trailer park format. We would suggest that this building is large, 6-7 stories, is substantially different from the overall profile of the neighborhood, which puts it 3 to 4 stories over all the neighboring buildings, so that's something to consider when you're looking at this property. It's very close to the condos next door to the lot lines of all of the neighbors, and the parking situation. Also, I think everyone else has made a very good point about affordable housing, so thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. We're going to close this side of the hearing. Do any councilors wish to speak? Councilor McKenna?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm the ward councilor. I just want to say to Valentina, she left, but I wanted to say to Valentina that I've been down there multiple times, and what was depicted in some of the photographs is not the truth. I went down there just to take pictures because I had a couple of calls down there, and a girl came out and said, "Miss McKenna," and I said, "What are you doing here?" She goes, "I live with my father," and she was the nicest little girl. And it wasn't all drug addicts, it wasn't all crime, it was people that couldn't afford it. It was low-income people that couldn't afford it, and they were renting the trailers. But anything that goes down there now is better than it was. I was there, I started in 2015. In 2015, I went down there because I got some calls. I couldn't believe what I saw. It was disgusting. I cited Lee's Trailer Park for being deplorable. People were living in squalor. The owners of this property received hefty fines from the city. Garbage and rats filled the 51-acre lot. Sewerage was leaking out of the trailers. You could smell it. It was disgusting, okay? I don't know how the property owners got away with this, for how long they got away with it, but after I came on as a counselor, they were getting fines constantly. They had the highest crime rate in the city, and the most police calls and ambulance calls to that site. Tonight, we have a developer that wants to clean up the area and clean up Green Creek, an important part, and if you're an environmentalist, you understand this, an important part of the salt marshes that feed the waterway of Belle Isle Creek. The water doesn't even flow down there because there's so much garbage and dirt and tires from, and if you want to talk about blightant, talk about the tire place that abuts that and Majestic Auto that abuts that, because they throw oil in the creek, they throw tires, it's disgusting. They want to establish a new sewer system for the whole property. If you go down there, you'll see illegal sewer pipes going across the creek from the other side of this trailer parks on the other side in a barbecue place. You'll see illegal sewer pipes going across to feed in. Most of these people that lived in trailers didn't even have bathrooms. They had to go up to the auto place to go to the bathroom. They didn't have water. They're going to do new landscaping, new sidewalks and new roads. A commercial entity on the problem, which will be a variety store, which we need because you know what? We're losing variety stores. We're losing. Stop and Shop is being developed into a big, gigantic apartment house. This is the first of the kind. We're getting 25 affordable apartments for the city residents. This is the first time that we're getting affordable housing. And like Laura said, you know what? We're getting it. It's a start, and we will get there, but it's a start. It's the first in the history of Revere. The commitment that the developers are talking about is one way in and one way out, so they will not elevate the noise from abutting residents. So they'll be going into Pratt Street, they'll be coming out of Pratt Street, and they'll be parking their equipment on site. $500,000 of mitigation money. This is not even CIT money. This is mitigation money to the Revere Community Arts Center. Revere, it's not Beachmont, it's Revere. It's the old fire station. And that doesn't include the CIT funds that will be generated financially every single year for this project, from this project. So that could help with the high school. So I believe that this is a win-win situation for that site. It is in the back. You can't really see it from the front. Maybe we can lower it from 6 to 5 stories, but you really can't see what goes on in the back there. I think that's why people have ignored it for so long, and the owners just got away with the way it was looking, and because you couldn't see it from the street. You can't see it from Winthrop Ave, and you can't see it from Lee Burbank Highway, because it's in the back. So I think this is a win-win for Revere with the 25 affordable housing. It's a start. It's a start. God bless, it's a start. And we'll get there. We'll get there, because I'm on the council, and he's on the council, and Juan's on the council, and Michelle's on the council, and we all want affordable housing we don't want to lose our city residents. We don't want to lose our seniors that are holding on. We don't want to lose anybody. We want to keep Revere the way it is. So this is a win-win. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Silvestri.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know this is going to zoning, so I'll be quick. I do have to agree with a few of the women that came up earlier. And that's why I kind of asked for that slide to be ended when I did. And I made the motion that we were beating a dead horse at the time, because I agree with the woman who came up here. The people that living in that situation didn't make that choice. They didn't wake up that day and say, you know what, I'm going to live in the trailer park today, and I'm going to get addicted to drugs, and I'm going to have mental health issues. And to point that out, that was a cause of chaos down there, is just was a little bit much for me as it kept going on. So that's why I asked for that, because I do believe that they are humans, and I did believe they deserve better. But what we are getting in the city is better than what was there. I will agree to that. But I have to ask the developers that with such an important project and such an important place in the city, we have our friends and labor in the room. Would you be willing to at least sit down and have a conversation with few of the labor trades to make sure that this project's not only done, but done correct? Because it's a major project. It's going to have some major impact on the city, and let's make sure it gets done right. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Jaramillo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll echo Councilor Silvestri's sentiments around the humanity of it all. And I will say, I appreciate the developer's willingness to reach out to the council on this particular matter and to work with us and Councilor McKenna here. I will echo some of the other concerns, though, around the affordability. And this is a little bit of a soapbox for me, but and I'll try to be as quick as possible. I mean, I think this council, and to Laura's point, should consider some deep affordability planning, long-term development planning for when we take up these subjects. I'm very grateful that we are at 10%, at 80% AMI. While I consider not ideal, and maybe zoning, some miracle happens in zoning, and we get more affordability here, it's a step in the right direction. Councilor McKenna said it best. It's the first time we do this. This is great. But I do think that there may be more wiggle room. It may require some really innovative ways to reduce costs for the developer. And I think there are some ways that can be done. And given that this is half a mile or maybe less than a mile from a train stop that runs buses, when we think of the city of Revere as a transit-oriented community, which it is, we should be considering the amenities that we have from a transportation standpoint when we're building. And again, this is not particular to this particular project. We have done very little as it relates to broad planning in this city. I sat in that advisory committee with Laura last year and Mayor Rigo at the time to try to do some more of the big picture stuff. I look forward to, this is our second official meeting really of the council. I look forward to more of that in the coming years. I think that 10% is a good start, and
and, would love to see more deep affordability. It is the first time, but, and then the last part of this is, affordability is it's like a seesaw, right? You have how much you can earn as you make a living, and how much you pay out as you try to feed your family in the whole nine. And on one end of affordability scale is wages and benefits and all that stuff. On the other end is the cost that you take in. For most Massachusetts residents, the largest cost right now is rents and mortgages. And, I know the governor is working on a big housing production bill. We're very excited about that. Housing production is needed for the Commonwealth so we can keep communities together. But that's like telling those people who are chained to that seesaw, you're going to get a brand new, beautiful playground, but it's going to take 10 years to build it. Are they going to be old enough to ride in that seesaw? Are they going to be old enough to take a ride down that slide? I think the answer is no, and that's why we have to do some serious planning around development and supporting development that encourages and takes on prevailing wages, minimum workplace standards, all these things that you find from various developers and various constructions and subcontractors and all that stuff. And so I would deeply encourage the developer in this case to consider ensuring that those standards of workforce for this site or any other work that they do for the city are met, so that we can give people a living wage, that we can give people the right benefits and protections in the workplace while they work on this at a multi-year or maybe multi-month development and construction that they're building here at this site. So in short, or to make it really simple, kind of echoing what Councilor Silvestri said around ensuring that we have those very important quality of life issues. Because as we heard in the conversation around the high school earlier, we heard from some brothers and sisters in labor around ensuring around the amount of density that we have of union members in our city. So I would say that we could be creating better living conditions for our residents from the wage side of that seesaw that I mentioned earlier, while we figure out the growing pains of a growing city around the development and planning side of that same seesaw. And with that, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other councilors wishing to speak? Councilor Kelly?
Thank you, Mr. President. I know that it's been said that this development is going to be better than what was there, and I do agree with that. However, I just wonder if this is the only thing that we can put there. This is the only proposal. I did talk to the city planner, and I believe that if acreage like this were in another town, maybe other things would be being proposed. A townhouse development, something more of a community feel or a neighborhood feel, something that would keep quality of life at the forefront. We're talking about quality of life, but it seems that on the nights that we're talking about these big buildings, we're forgetting about the nights when we do have Cataldo ambulance services up here because of the response times, and we talk about the strain on our police and fire because of overcrowding and how congested we are. And then we just seem to forget about all those things when we're talking about approving a 250-unit building. So that's something that I want to think about. And also, in terms of the affordable housing, and I want to remind Councilor Zambuto that I do know that this is going to zoning, so I'll be quick. But I believe that this is also located in our newly designated Smart Growth District under the MBTA Communities Law. So if the developer were developing this building under that law, 20% affordable units would be required. And I understand that instead of doing that, they can offer all of these things which on paper look great and sound great, but we know a lot of times things don't come to fruition. We've seen that we've seen that an example with Amazon recently. So I want to keep that in mind as well in terms of so I think asking for the special permit kind of circumvents that. Had this been going in through the MBTA Communities Law, it would actually be a 20% requirement of affordable housing. And I know I knocked on a lot of doors when I was campaigning, and the number one thing I heard was, we don't want any more huge apartment buildings going up. We don't need them, we don't want them. We're building on every inch of the city, and it's negatively impacting our quality of life here as residents. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor. I'm going to refer this to zoning on February 26th at 5 p.m.
Calendar item number 5, hearing called as ordered on a proposed ordinance establishing a stabilization fund for drainage, stormwater, and culvert projects.
Proponents, any proponents wishing to speak in favor? Hearing and seeing none, closing that side. Any opponents? Nobody? Closing that side of the hearing. Councilors? Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Obviously, this was put in by me for obvious reasons, and I think it's a necessary situation here, so I'm looking forward to discussing this further. I'm not sure, Madam Clerk.
It'll go to Legislative Affairs.
Where does this go? Is that where it goes? Okay, Legislative Affairs is fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. I'm going to refer this to Legislative Affairs, Counselor Argenzio's subcommittee. Date to be determined. Thank you.
Calendar item number 6, hearing called as ordered on a petition submitted by National Grid to install a new pole on Revere Street for the purpose of accommodating the overhead to underground conversion at Sullivan Park.
Good evening, sir. We're going to start with proponents. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Jose Luis Azurdia, representing National Grid Electric Side, 170 Medford Street, Malden.
Are there any other proponents in the audience? Closing that side of the hearing. Any opponents? Hearing and seeing none. Any city councilors?
Mr. President,
Councilor Novoselsky.
I know this is Councilor Sawaya's ward, Sullivan, and they're developing a new park down there, and they're doing a wonderful job. We've been watching it every day get built, and I think that they're doing electricity down there and new lights, so I think this is important to get done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Anyone else? All in favor? Oh. All in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 7, hearing called as ordered on a petition submitted by National Grid to install underground conduits on Revere Street to accommodate the overhead to underground conversion at Sullivan Park.
Proponents, anyone speaking in favor? I assume you are also in favor of this?
Yes.
I don't need we have your name here. Closing that side of the hearing. Opponents, anyone not in favor? Closing that side. Any councilors wishing to speak? Councilor Garino Sawaya.
I'm just requesting, I have one request for National Grid, and that is for them to inform the councilors if they are going to be closing the street.
Yes, so we cover, the contractor is responsible for restoring the road surface that's going to be excavated in kind. So once all the work is completed by the contractor and by National Grid, it's their responsibility to restore it. The same way
I need to know ahead of time if there's going to be any type of road closure, whether it's to inform the police or the councilor, myself. I need to know if it's going to be closed, because I just had a major issue with 1A north and southbound being closed without having any notification whatsoever. And I have a lot of residents that I have to answer to, and I have to put it on someone else, and it's going to be on National Grid.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you.
All in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 8, hearing called as ordered on a petition submitted by National Grid and Verizon to install a jointly owned pole at the intersection of Victoria Street and Vinyl Street.
Proponents. Are you in favor or not in favor? Come, just, so you're, can you just answer the question is, are you going to install a new pole, or are you going to put a new, name and address for the record?
Eric V. Fields, 180 Vinyl Street. I live on the corner of Vinyl and Victoria. That's me right there. So I guess the question is, in front of my house, I have a pole that has Victoria Street sign on it, whatever. And it sounds like you're either going to put either another pole or add to that pole.
So it's going to be a new pole.
Come to the microphone, sir. Thank you for your question, sir.
Thank you. So this new pole is going to be between two existing poles. And the purpose for this pole is to serve as a feeder monitor unit, which is going to be serving National Grid to monitor the AC voltage and current levels, basically to monitor the any potential outages. It's part of a modernization project. I believe I will give you the distance from the two existing poles.
Point of information.
State your point, Counselor.
It's across the street, so it's not even going to go, it's across the street. It's not a double pole. It's a separate pole, and it's going to go in the corner across the street from Victoria and Vinyl. So it's not even going to be next to this gentleman's house. It's going to be across the street.
So
Sounds
On
good.
the
So we're
opposite,
gonna.
it's going to be on the opposite corner.
Okay, so we're going to go on. Are there any other proponents? Any opponents? Closing that side of the hearing. Any counselors? All in favor? All opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 9, hearing called is ordered on a joint petition submitted by National Grid and Verizon to install a jointly owned pole on Winthrop Ave near Revere Beach Parkway in accordance with the plan on file.
Proponents, anyone in favor? Closing that side. Opponents, anyone not in favor? Hearing and seeing none. Any city councilors?
Right.
All in,
The way.
Councilor McKenna.
Thank you. I talked to Jose yesterday, and he just couldn't tell me about, I don't think this is in his privy, about Winthrop Ave near Revere Beach Parkway. I would like to put this on a hold and get an explanation from National Grid, who knows what, where this is going. Do you know where this is going? Because you said you didn't. You said it was from someone else that was going to do it.
Oh, this is the one next to Suffolk Downs.
This is near Luigi's.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Washburn Ave.
There's a manhole going here.
Good evening, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Daniel Combs, 672 Winter Street, Framingham, design contractor for National Grid. What was the work order number at the end of that description?
308-673-66.
That's not the one that goes with that.
I'll be honest with you, if we can't provide information to the ward councilor, we're going to put this into subcommittee or table it.
Okay, yeah, that's not the one that they're talking about. I don't know if you have the others.
Gentlemen, do we have any information on this poll or no?
This is not my project, so they'd have to contact someone else. I'm not
So
aware of this one.
Whose
so-
project is it?
So this is.
Because this is supposed to be National Grid and Verizon coming before us to ask us for permission for this. So may even place this on file until we know what the heck's going on.
Place on file, please.
Place on file. Next.
But this was the one they were talking about, that work order down there.
Can we change that vote to table?
We'll table it to the next meeting.
Thank you.
Calendar item number 10, hearing called as ordered on a petition submitted by National Grid to install an underground conduit from pole number 1139, which is located on the island intersection of Clifton Street that borders 344 Salem Street.
Proponents?
This petition is going to be withdrawn.
Any opposition to that? Motion is withdrawn.
Calendar item number 11, hearing called as ordered on a petition submitted by National Grid to install underground conduits, manholes, and a primary pull box on Washburn Ave in accordance with the plan on file.
Proponents? Sir, go ahead.
This design of underground equipment is to accommodate the pole and wire removal as part of HYM's proposal of redesign of Winthrop Street from the intersection of Washburn Avenue to the west to Thomasella Avenue. Upon the completion of this installation, underground cable can be installed from pole 47, which is like near the Shell station and diagonally crossing the fire station, through the new manhole and duct system that was installed on Revere Beach Parkway and in HYM developments, to new poles on Washburn and once all those the wires are done, the pole line can be removed. That's what the underground assets are in request for.
Thank you very much. Are there any other proponents? Sir?
Sorry, I have something to say. The previous job that was, we were confused about, this is the one that I thought you said the one in Luigi's. This is the one, the previous job that's similar to the other one, where we wanted to install a new pole in between two existing poles to accommodate the feeder monitor. So the job that I was misunderstanding is actually the job that I spoke to you, the second job that I spoke to you about.
Was your information to the gentleman who spoke accurate as far as the pole?
This is his job, yes.
But it's still across the street, or is it in front of his house?
Yeah, the vinyl street.
I just wanted clarification. Okay, so proponents for Washburn Avenue, what we just brought up. Any other proponents closing that side of the hearing? Any opponents?
I have, when you're ready.
Yeah. Hearing and seeing none. Closing that side of the hearing. City councilors. Councilor Hess.
I have a question, and I'm new to this. Is this the norm for a meeting regarding National Grid and poles just being erected all over the city? Is that? I mean, how often are these the jointly positioned poles inspected? Does anyone know the answer? Because I know I drive around the city now and I see white boxes hanging from them. I see wires hanging from new poles. I'm just curious if anyone knows how often these things are actually inspected once they go up, or if ever.
Good point. Good question.
Thanks.
Mr.
The ward councilor, Councilor McKenna.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. I love that. So I would just like to know, let me just answer Mr. Hass's, Councilor Hass's question. No, we've always had a fight, we've always had problems with National Grid, double poles, all kinds of things. But you got to understand that on the pole, there's like 5 different companies. There's Infinity, there's Verizon, there's the fire, there's RCN. So to get rid of a double pole, they have to contact all these people to get rid of the wires, all right? But we've been fighting with them, especially me and Ira have been fighting with them for, well, I've been on the council for 8.5 years, so I've been fighting with them for 8.5 years. There's no representative, no one comes up. There used to be a representative, we used to really do a job on them, but no one comes up anymore, so maybe this council, that's one of the things that we really need to do, is get them to come up and say, okay, if you have double poles, I mean, they just forgot about the double poles. There's double poles everywhere. Half a poles, poles that are, I know, it's just crazy, and no one's coming up to represent this. So maybe as a council, we should force them to come up and address, maybe each councilor needs to address a double pole, and we need to address the whole city. And that's what we need to do. But we just, you know, the last year, we've just slacked on everything because of the fact that everything was going on. So we really do have to hold them accountable. I would like to know from you, are you going to tear up the street?
Yeah, the street would have a significant amount of digging.
Okay.
And likely with this amount of digging, well, first of all, the southern half of the intersection on Washburn, between talks with National Grid, HYM is going to proceed with their contractors. I would expect that they have shown some of their street improvement plans, but I think it's curb to curb, pretty much.
Okay, curb to curb, that's all I wanted to know. And
Yeah.
they're going to take care of it? You don't have to take care of it?
From the southern half of the intersection down,
Right.
is that they're working out to do that piece. On that end, it's an extension of a part that starts on their property, so they know where they left off, and they can continue that into the street.
Okay.
And on the north side of the road will be National Grid's procurement and contractors, and I would expect curb to curb over there, because we're going in 3 different directions off that manhole.
Okay, so the new councilors, I just want to give you a heads up. If anybody's going to tear up your street, you ask for curb to curb. Thank you.
Councilor Silvestri.
Thank you, Mr. President. Gentlemen, thank you for coming up here tonight. And I'm sure you can see the tension that's coming from the council, and has nothing to do with you all. This is years and years in the making of National Grid. As the councilor said, there's a new representative that comes up each time, so there's no continuity in between the information we're getting one meeting to the next. It's just, so there's a lot of frustration. It's not aimed at you all. I just want you to know that. That's all.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just for the my new colleagues on the council, I've been here 25 years. When I got here, the double pole thing was a disaster. It has gotten tremendously better. Now, has there been a little lull? Yes. But there is a spreadsheet, they're tracked, they're removed in the order that they're, I think Council McKenna mentioned that there's 5 or 6 or 7 people on a pole. It has to be done in order, and we've come a long way. So it's not the end of the world. We have slacked off having these meetings with the 3 entities, which is National Grid, Verizon, and Comcast. And we were having trouble getting the new carrier there, RCN or whatever, come up here. But we can get this back on track easy, and it is a lot better than it used to be. So at least we have a way to track these polls and how long they've been, and so that's just a point of information for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, it's a learning experience, guys. I know we're talking about certain items for a request for public hearing, but just in defense of these 2 gentlemen here, there is a new representative. Dan Cameron used to be our contact liaison, and Dan is retired, and there's been 2 other people that have replaced him. And I know, and if I may, through that the clerk has tried to reach out to National Grid, but the young lady tries to get the other groups together, and they all come in, and we throw all kinds of things at them to try and clear up things that are bothering us as a council. Double poles, hanging wires, potholes in the street,,, trenches and stuff like that. So And I'm wondering if we really have to get all the groups together, even if they came in separately, and, you know, through you to the clerk, Mr. President, when we do talk to National Grid, say we don't need all 3 or 4 of them in together, because it's RCN and Comcast, Verizon, and 2 other. I know we're 5 altogether. And bring them in individually. We don't have to bring them all together to throw stuff at them. You know, I don't think. You know, it takes us time out of our meeting to talk to them and spend some time, because each one of us will have a complaint to National Grid or Verizon or whoever it may be. So that's what I would suggest in the meantime. But relating to this motion in the hearing, this one we're talking about is Washburn Ave. And it's in the vicinity of Luigi's. It's right next to Luigi's Pizza, and also where the Beachmont roast beef used to be. 2 sides of Washburn Ave. They want to do manholes on each side, and then underground piping from the manholes, from manhole to manhole, and to new poles that they want to put on Washburn Ave. This is all for HYM, you know, for their electrical system.
Yes, they're putting it underground.
So,
The line that's being removed as proposed from this intersection to the west is actually the existing lines that serve the neighborhood.
Okay.
And continues and feeds the MBTA
Okay.
train stop and heads to the west. It actually, HYM isn't served by this. HYM I don't know all the past discussions, but the pole line is asked to be removed, but we're utilizing their conduit system through their neighborhood because there was no more room in Winthrop Street to add more cables to it. We couldn't add more cables to the previously approved duct bank. That was, we had reached the capacity on that duct bank, so we're using their duct bank through their system, but it actually isn't powering them at all.
Right.
It's actually just continuing to serve the train station and everywhere along Beachmont.
so on Washburn Ave North, you're showing 1, 2, 3, 4 new poles.
Yeah, so.
Right? One next to Luigi's and one across the street from Luigi's, and then back towards the parking lot
Yeah.
behind Luigi's.
So I'll take them closest to Luigi's and working away from there. The one right in front of Luigi's would be to serve him explicitly.
Okay.
Currently, he uses a large transformer bank. When you see the 3 cans on the pole, that pole, today is 2 poles to the west on Winthrop Street, and one of the poles is scheduled to be removed. So in order to keep him having power, we needed a new pole for him. The pole would be placed to directly pick up his line that goes into his overhead siphon for his business. The next pole to the north on that street is actually just shown for reference. We'd be replacing that pole and applying a riser at that pole and new conduit to that pole, but pole 1584 exists today. It's actually just in between the 2 entrances to his parking lot. The poles on the west side of the street are proposed in order to provide the primary metering siphon to the MBTA station.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir. Is this all just part of this?
Sketch?
Yeah, this last one, it's all part of it?
Yeah, it's on the
related?
north side of the intersection.
Does any counselors have any additional questions? Permission to speak from the chair? Are you with National Grid as well?
I directly contract with the National Grid, and I do
Okay.
98% of my work with them.
I want, right now, a contact that a city councilor can call and say, hey, I have a problem. That's what I want. I have a woman named Tammy in my phone who doesn't answer her phone. And I'm getting very sick and tired of it, and to Councilor Hass's point, it is difficult, and every time we call you guys, and again, this isn't directed at you, every time we call, I had an issue with a pole, nobody knew whose wires they were. So you get a call, we're not next to move on it. Oh, we're not next to move on it either. And I am getting sick and tired of it, fed up, really. So I want to contact before you guys leave. I don't understand the disrespect from these utility companies, because they need us and we need you. We should be working together. It shouldn't be, we need this, we're going to come before you and do whatever we want type of thing. So that's all, okay? Councilor Novoselsky.
If I may, thank you, Mr. President. Just for your reference, If you give Nick Romano a call, Nick knows exactly who to touch base with. He's directly in contact with them down at 311.
I would request that he send all the city councilors all of the updated contacts, because I just asked for it and I wasn't given anything. So that's a little frustrating, but I'm glad we have it. Does anybody else want to speak? Good. All in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 13, communication from the city auditor requesting an appropriation of funds to pay for Revere TV's quarterly invoice.
All in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 14,
Yes, Madam Clerk, if, you know what, and so I don't have to say appointments 16 times, you can just read them all through. Okay. We're going to take items 14 through 20, and these are all going to be referred to appointments unless there's any objection or conversation that needs to happen. All right, appointments.
motions. Calendar item number 23, motion presented by Councilor Guarino Sawaya that the mayor be requested to modify the Snow Angels program by establishing an annual lottery and application process. This will ensure a more equitable way of determining the need for snow removal assistance due to the large number of households currently on the waiting list.
Councilor Guarino Sawaya.
Thank you, Mr. President. Okay, the Snow Angels was established 11 years ago by former Mayor Dan Rizzo in around 2013. This was to help the elderly and physically disabled residents who needed a hand shoveling from winter storms to remove the snow from their sidewalks, driveways, and walkways. The Snow Angels program was launched in conjunction with the Revere High School Army JROTC, the Patriot Battalion. It was providing assistance to dozens of residents in need. Since its start, there has been a very, very long waiting list, approximately 5 years. And the same people who have received help previously are still receiving help. Therefore, that list is not moving. I feel it is time that we change the criteria. I'm asking that there be a new yearly application, and that will be easily found on the website for the elderly and disabled to access and apply for. The most needy individuals should be given top priority, and each year there should be a new lottery as to give all residents an equal opportunity to receive this assistance. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other councilors wishing to speak? All in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 24, motion presented by Councilor Guarino Sawaya that the City Council award a certificate of commendation to Lisa Cutting, owner of Ocean View Kennel, for her dedication to the animals of our community. Lisa is always available when the police department calls for assistance in picking up stray dogs and even wildlife.
I'll hold my comments.
Councilor Guarino Sawaya.
Sorry, Mr. President. I will hold my comments for when she comes up. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other councilors wishing to speak? I just, permission to speak from the chair. As somebody who is a customer of Ocean View Kennel, I won't bring my dogs anywhere else, and they do a phenomenal job there. Lisa's amazing, her staff is amazing, and the amount of money she pays out of pocket to house these animals that get brought into her, not just from Revere, from all surrounding communities. I feel like the city as a whole should be doing more to help her financially, so I'm absolutely in favor. Any other councilors wishing to speak? All in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 25, motion presented by Councilor McKenna that the mayor request the Chief of Planning and Community Development to conduct a feasibility study relative to the installation of a berm within the marsh abutting the rear properties of 8 through 32 Pearl Ave. Severe flooding and rising ocean tides negatively impact this area.
Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. In the last couple of years, we've seen a decrease in ocean water. And what's happening now is that it's inundating the marsh. So it's covering the marsh. And we've had 2 major storms in January with historical tides. On Pearl Ave was inundated along with other areas of beach but they are getting a berm. There's plans on having Belle Isle and along the Beachmont School, a berm, but nothing's been said about Pearl Ave. Now, in my 8 years of tenure, I proposed a pumping station, which they had nowhere to pump the water. I proposed catch basins, which they can't do because it's a low-lying area and they have nowhere to feed the water to go out. So I'm asking for a berm. I've talked to Superintendent Donnie Chimella. His son was down there. Him and Mayor Keefe, they moved a car. They went into the water and they got the keys of a car and they moved a car. But they're getting inundated from the marsh, abutting the marsh and the ocean. And there's nowhere for this water to go. So I'm asking for to just do a study on a berm, or maybe an emergency berm to go along the property of probably about 8 houses to stop the water from the marsh. You're not going to be able to stop the water from the ocean, but you can stop the water from the marsh. So I'm asking for a berm for 8 houses. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other counselors wishing to speak? All in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 26, motion presented by Councilor Cogliandro, that the mayor appear before the city council to discuss the revenues generated from the parking lot leases at Wonderland, including but not limited to identifying the account in which the revenue is deposited or where the revenue is being spent.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Permission to speak from the chair. I just want to say that I did reach out to the CFO, Rich Fisquet. I did receive a spreadsheet, and I just want to share with the public, I know it's a big question, what's going on with the cars. In 2023, fiscal year 23, we had 5 companies rent spaces from us for a total of roughly $230,000 in revenue. So far in fiscal year 24, we have 3 companies for a total of $276,000 and change in revenue. I also want to say that it might be difficult to find it on the budget because it's listed as a non-return, which means that we don't know if this is going to be revenue we're collecting next year because now the school's going to be going there, so we won't have those parking spaces for rent. But to settle the debate, yes, we are renting those spaces and we are collecting the revenue, and it looks pretty nice. If any other councilors wishing to speak? Councilor Kelly?
Mr. President, just a question. That $276,000 that you quoted for the 3 companies in 2024, is that projected for the 12 months of 2024, or is that what has come in just in this month?
I can just what it says here, it says year-to-date collected. I don't know if that is fiscal year or if that is actually 2024, so.
Mr. President, I believe that's fiscal year.
Thank you, Councilor Agenzio.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
Is that still existing in a fund someplace, that money? Or
Yes, it's in the, like I said, it's listed in the general fund under non-returns.
Okay.
That's what the CFO explained to me, so.
Great.
I'm going to place this on file. Thank you.
Calendar item number 27, motion presented by Councilor Novoselsky, that the mayor be requested to establish a program to remove snow, salt, sand as necessary on all sidewalks adjacent to city-owned properties such as parks and playgrounds.
Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, this has been a pet peeve of mine for the last 10 years, and I'm sure a lot of other people. And lately, I've been getting calls and emails and texts from residents saying, listen, the city is forcing us to shovel and salt the sidewalks in front of our houses, and they're fining us. But meanwhile, the city is not doing in front of the parks, in front of city properties. And you walk down Shirley Ave alone, right by Costa Park, and it was a sheet of glass 2 weeks ago. No one shoveled the sidewalk on either side of the park. Down on Sandler Square, the 3 sidewalks down there, not shoveled or salted. So I'm asking that the mayor find a way to establish a program. And he did mention to me that he may use the Roca kids. but to make sure that they shovel the sidewalks and salt, so, in case of ice. So he is aware of this, and I wanted to bring it up to you because I know everybody has that little thing in the back of their mind. So, thank you.
Great motion, Counselor. Counselor McKenna?
Thank you. I'm going to add to this, Kimberly Park and Beachmont Square, which is the gateway to Beachmont School. Kids take that all the time, was not salted. So I'm just asking to be, more vigilant and just make sure that's salted or shoveled.
Thank you, Counselor. All in favor? All opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 28, motion presented by Councilor Novoselsky that the mayor be requested to include in the FY25 budget, either Police Department or Public Works, for all and additional freestanding yield to pedestrian crosswalk signs.
Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, most of these are those freestanding stanchions that have yellow, tall ones that say yield to pedestrians in the crosswalk, that they stand in the middle of the street mostly. But I've been trying to get one at one location, and they're telling me, oh, they have no money to buy one. And we were getting it through the police department in the past. And from what I understand, they don't cost that much. So I think we should be buying more for the ones we have and replace the ones that are damaged and missing. So I think you ought to put it in the budget and make sure that they have enough in there to buy replacement ones when they disappear. I know Sergeant Janino dealt with that on a regular basis, especially with me, while he was on duty. So I think it's an important issue for the safety of the kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other counselors wishing to speak? All in favor? All opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 29, motion presented by Councilor McKenna, that the mayor request the DPW to paint the words "stop sign ahead" on the street prior to the stop sign at the intersection of Crescent Ave and Summer Street, facing in a westerly direction. Vehicles traveling up the street are not stopping at the four-way intersection, creating a public safety hazard for pedestrians and students who wait on the corner for the bus.
Counselor McKenna.
Thank you. Back in the day when Miriam Bersino was the mayor, he had, I don't know if it was the DPW, maybe Paul can answer to that because he's been there so long. They used to write on the pavement, and they would write "slow children." They would write "stop sign ahead," etc. And the thing is that we're trying to get speed tables. Well, why not do something that's going to add to this? We don't have the police presence to stop the people from, these people are not stopping at the stop signs, and I'm just afraid, and the way when kids are waiting for the bus, they don't wait on the sidewalk. They all wait on the street. So I'm just afraid, it's like yards away, I'm just afraid that on Summer Street and Crescent Ave, someone's going to get hit by a car because these people that are coming from Winthrop or wherever they're coming from are speeding up the street and not stopping at the stop signs. So I don't think it's going to cost a lot of money to do. And I think this would be great, besides the speed tables, to slow down the traffic and keep people safe. So.
Yes, Councilor.
Thank you. Thank you, Counselor.
Mr. President, through you to Councilor McKenna.
Absolutely.
These crosswalk painting crews can easily do that, and the cost of it is fairly insignificant, so that can be done.
Thank you, Counselor. Anyone else wishing to? All in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 31, motion presented by Council President Cogliandro, that the mayor be requested to conduct a robocall or some form of communication reminding all residents and property owners of the snow and ice removal ordinance.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Permission to speak from the chair. I think this kind of goes hand in hand with Councilor Novoselsky. We all have to do our part as a city, as a property owner, as a homeowner. We got to make sure the sidewalks are clear. I was watching kids fall. I was watching families walking in the street because they didn't want to fall. So let's all just work together to make it safer around here during these storms.
Mr. President.
Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, in the past, and I don't think it's been done recently, but this time of year, or in the fall, when they send out the tax bills, we used to put in a note to the property owners to make sure that they know about this ordinance and what they have to do. So
It's a great idea.
I think we ought to think about asking the mayor to do that in the fall when it comes into wintertime. Now it's too late, but do it for the fall.
I think that's a great idea. Any other councilors wishing to speak? All in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 32, motion presented by Councilor Argenzio, that the mayor be requested to allocate funding from Chapter 90 or another funding source for the purpose of repaving Oxford Street, Howard Street, McLeavy Street, and Rand Street. These streets recently had water and gas main replacement and are in poor condition.
Councilor Argenzio.
Thank you, Mr. President. These streets were done over with gas and water main replacement this summer, and they are in very poor condition. I believe ARPA funds have been secured to do the sidewalks and curbing, and the repavement will put the finishing touches on these 4 streets. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other councilors wishing to speak? All in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 33, motion presented by Councilor Argenzio, that the mayor request a member of the Revere Traffic Division to appear before the City Council to discuss regulations concerning small motorized bikes and scooters. The vehicles have become a serious safety hazard to drivers and pedestrians. Councilor
Argenzio.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I was campaigning this past year, this was probably one of the biggest complaints I got. These small scooters and motorized bikes, I know scooters don't have to be registered, but at one point, these bikes that everyone's zooming around on, do they need to be registered? Who needs to have a helmet? Where can they operate? I know one person, they step out of a business on Broadway and a scooter comes by and took them out. So I don't know if they're allowed to operate on sidewalks, if they can operate in bike lanes. I know sometimes you see them driving down the center yellow line. So if we could just get some clarification on the legality of where they can operate, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Silvestri.
Thank you, Mr. President. Councilor Argenzio, this is a great motion. It really is. Many cities across the country have used the scooters as a revenue generator, and they've come with laws. You must wear a helmet. You must drive in the bike lanes. You're not allowed to drive on the sidewalks. But they're governed through business-centered scooter companies. I think we would have to figure a way to get those laws to stick to regular residents. But I do agree with you, it needs to happen. There's a lot of danger with pedestrians, but also scooter riders themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Hess.
I agree with my fellow councilors. I talked to so many residents during the election about this issue. Just last night, I saw a man flying down Malden Street without a helmet on, and it was nighttime on one of the e-bikes. But it's clear that the city does need some guidelines. I know this is a huge issue across the country in major cities, transit-oriented cities, but we have to maybe look at things like speed limits for these. Some of these e-bikes can go up to 25 miles an hour, 30 miles, and I think it's 25, but some cities require a valid ID to drive one of these. That might be another avenue to go. But it's clear that we need some guidelines and then even maybe an awareness, an awareness campaign to let older residents know that someone could be flying to the right of you, cutting you off in traffic, flying down the sidewalk, even though they shouldn't be. Some of our residents aren't aware that where these e-bikes and scooters are. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, just a clarification, the small motorized bikes, we got different kinds. We got like the Vespa type, and we got the two-wheel motorcycle type. And then we have those scooters, the two-wheel scooters with motors on them. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, well, I'm talking about all of them.
Yes.
They're just to
Okay.
try to make a distinction, what's legal, what isn't.
Right, okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor. if I may have permission to speak from the chair, I think this is a great motion. This has been a problem we've had for a while. There's a business on Broadway that if they open their overhead door and you look inside, there's 100 of these things sitting there. But, you know, age requirement, the different classes of motorized scooters or bikes or whatever you call them. Do they need a helmet? Do they need a license? These are all things that we should have in an ordinance or something so that the police have a much easier time enforcing this. So, great motion. All in favor? All opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 34, motion presented by Councilor Zambudo, that the City Council approve the following special legislation, enact relative to city employment and candidacy in the offices of mayor, city councilor at large, ward councilor, and school committee of the City of Revere.
Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I see attached here, but I don't see the attachment, but that's okay. You have it, I don't have it. It figures she left it out of mine because I don't need it.
Page 180.
180? Oh, I apologize. No, because there's an amendment I wanted to make on it. I still don't have it. I don't. 78.
Councilor, we have some other councilors. Would you want
I
to
got
let them
it.
speak?
I got
Okay,
it.
never
Okay.
mind. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, I think everybody knows what this is about and why it's going in, but there was one provision that a 2-year look back should be changed to 1 year. Is that correct, Madam Clerk?
Yes, that's what you discussed with me earlier this
So
afternoon.
if we make that amendment,
Yeah, the entire motion.
okay, I propose we amend that to 1 year.
This is going to subcommittee, just so
Of
everyone
course,
knows.
it's going to
Yes, sir.
subcommittee. But it's got to go with the amendment, that's all. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hess.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to be clear, this is going, I missed that. Where was this one going?
This is going to be referred to Legislative Affairs, Councilor Agenzios.
So as the last man standing, I guess, right? The last city employee on the council, I feel like I finally have to address this, you know? It's been too long, but I always felt, you know, the city should look for more people to get involved. I can't see the benefit of telling someone they can't run for a seat or run for a council seat, a school committee seat. That person might have great ideas. They might do great things for the city, regardless if they're a city employee or not. Usually, in my experience, a city employee runs. They're most likely knowledgeable in certain areas in city matters. They're doing it as a labor of love, not collecting a second check. And you still have to win the election. You still have to run a campaign and get elected. Just because you're a city employee doesn't mean you're automatically going to get elected into office. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Jaramillo.
Mr. President, I think I'm the only one in this dais that wasn't born in this country. But I'd like to think that my teachers, many of whom were here earlier today, taught me enough of the Constitution to know that this here, friends, is unconstitutional, protected by the First Amendment rights that are granted to us through the Bill of Rights, which it has been a few years since I revised it, but I believe freedom of speech is mentioned in there. And so, you know, it's late at night, and I know this is going to be heard in a subcommittee, but maybe I failed my civics classes and I'm missing something here, but this may not pass the smell test.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other councilors? Councilor Zambudo.
Just if I might, this is why we have subcommittees, so we can debate this, and I disagree with my colleague who thinks it's unconstitutional. This has to do with conflicts of interest and serving two masters, but I'll debate the Constitution anytime, any day, anywhere. Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. President, just because I was addressed directly.
Through me, please, Councilor Jarmia.
Through the president, if it pleases him, I believe our Commonwealth of Massachusetts, through its own constitution, has devised a good amount of state legislative laws which govern conflict of interest. In fact, as a former, or maybe I'm not sure, to my colleague at the far side there, if he's still a public employee, but you know these laws, I know these laws, they govern all ethical activity for an elected official. And so I see here, this is an interesting motion. And again,
And it's going to sound great when it goes to legislative affairs.
That's right. Let's do that.
So ordered.
Calendar item number 35, motion presented by Councilor Zambudo that the City Council approve the following special legislation, an act relative to the filling of vacancies in the office of Mayor of the City of Revere.
Councilor Zambudo.
Well, this one is really obviously, we saw what happens when there is a situation like happened with when the mayor left and the council president became acting mayor. I don't think the original ordinance was ever designed for it to be almost a year as acting mayor, and that's all this is about. It's about shortening that, and if someone leaves, there will be a special election right away. I think it's, in the word I hate to use, it's a no-brainer, but this is going to committee, and we can certainly discuss it and talk about the merits and maybe downfalls of this piece of legislation. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other councilors wishing to speak? Permission to speak from the chair? Thank you. I just want to say that I don't know if I agree or disagree with this yet. I do know that it does warrant a conversation because we just went through a situation where, to my knowledge, things are still a little bit unclear about the powers and all that good stuff, and how it's chosen, and the argument could be made that it's part of the job of the president. The argument could be made that we need to vote on it as a council. So I'm looking forward to talking about this in legislative affairs.
Calendar item number 36, motion presented by Councilor Silvestri that the mayor request Human Resources to direct all departments to amend and/or replace stigmatizing language and terminology with person-centered language in all city documents with respect to substance use disorder, behavioral health, people in recovery, people who use drugs, and people who have been involved in the justice system. This is to include internal city hall, the police department, fire department, public schools, and housing authority.
Councilor Silvestri.
Thank you, Mr. President. I actually filed this motion back in September of '22, and I'm not sure anything was ever moved on it. It passed, but I just want to bring it up again and have an opportunity to have this language changed. And it's not just here in Revere, it's happening across the state. It's happening in businesses where they're identifying languages. And I'll give you an instance in one of our bylaws. It explains a person with drug abuse history. It talks about drug therapy. It talks about substance abuse. And in today's day and age, they are changing the language. It's more reflected as substance misuse. It wouldn't be considered drug therapy. It would be more like counseling. So there's languages throughout our policies that does need to be changed. I'd just like them to look it over and see what they can do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other councilors wishing to speak? Councilor Jaramillo.
I think we just went through this in a prior conversation earlier in this meeting. In some language that startled me, and I think startled Councilor Silvestri as well, in the way that things were being presented as it relates to folks in the substance use community and struggling with that. And so, I thank Councilor Silvestri for his steadfast advocacy on behalf of these issues. and wholeheartedly support this motion.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other counselors wishing to speak? All in favor? All opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 37, motion presented by Councilor Silvestri, that the mayor request Matt Philbin to appear before the city council to discuss the long overdue opening of the cannabis dispensary in the city of Revere on Railroad Ave. The city council granted a special permit for this use in 2015, and our city's residents have yet to see any benefit from this project.
Counselor Silvestri.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, as many of you know, I'm very passionate about the cannabis industry, and some may say it's a failing industry. But if done right, I think it can be a very profitable industry. And right now, we need, we'll put it this way, who are we to turn down $1 million a year from revenue when we're sitting here building a school for $500 million? And I think that we're starting to get a group of counselors that are identifying this. And I think that Mr. Philbin owes the city and the council an explanation on what is going on with his project. 2015, it's almost a decade since we approved this project. If this was any other business, I don't know if this would be allowed, to just lock it up, hold the only license, and give us zero revenue or zero explanation to why it's happening. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other counselors wishing to speak? All in favor? All opposed?
Calendar item number 38, motion presented by Councilor Jaramillo, that the City Council order to a public hearing the following proposed ordinance. An ordinance providing for interpretation services for public meetings and public documents.
Counselor Jaramillo.
Señor Presidente, buenas noches. ¿Cómo están? ¿Cómo están mis colegas? Esto es una moción para hacer más asequible nuestro gobierno municipal. And if you're wondering what I just said, just think about what's happening to 1 out of every 3 members in our community who speaks a main language that's other than English. I hear point taken, so I won't speak further on that.
Counselor Novoselsky.
Gracias, Mr. President. Que pasa, baby? This is a good thing to bring up, and I would like to add to this, if I may, through you to Mr. President, through the counselor presenting this. I believe that sign language and signing is also a way to talk to people that can't hear. So I would like somewhere, through Councilor Jaramillo or the clerk, to add some kind of signing paragraph. Okay. Well, but we don't do it.
Right.
But we don't do it. Why don't we do it? We don't have the money.
A resident or someone we need to ask, and we would be required to.
Okay, well, I did that 3 years ago, and I was told to try to get it through ETP money, that Comcast, the Revere TV, couldn't do it. And that's why I want to try and get it back, where we have to foresee the Revere TV or the city provide someone to do signing.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other counselors? Counselor Hess?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a great motion. The city has done a great job lately. Every time you put Revere TV on, you see, a spot in a different language. Certain city departments translate flyers and pamphlets into different language, Arabic, Spanish. With the growing population in Revere, it's definitely necessary to reach all of the population, or as much of the population as you can. And I know that there are translators, language specialists at City Hall. Maybe that's something they look into. Maybe the city can team up with students for translation services, or look into that as some kind of partnership and collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other counselors? This is going to a public hearing on February 26th. This concludes the council meeting. Estoy muy cansado. Necesito dormir ahora. The next council meeting is February 12th. Have a great night, everybody.